Oh god, look. Fox! Fox! Dude. Dude. Even if you're a phoenix, you're not the correct kind of phoenix. Besides, this game is not even about phoenix, right? It's about Rinosuke. Totally different one. If anything, if you having a dragon, it would make more sense. But you're not. Anyway. You know that I'd like to do these very dumb sketches, guys, so... Oh my god, it's been so long! You have no idea how much I've been waiting to keep going with this game. After a long period of absence, we finally are going back into this adventure. I know that it took me so long, and I know that I pretty much have taken no explanation for this. I don't even have that many viewers anyway, but... Well, what can I say? Work has been hectic. for so long. But anyway, let's just not stay in the past and actually keep going for the first time in ages with the Great Ace Attorney. Now, I think that having been so long, it would be a good idea to give you a small little recap of everything that has happened here. Very brief. So this was episode 1, The Adventures of the Great Departure, which was when Ryunosuke was accused of having killed Mr. John Wilson. And when he got to defend himself, he realized that he had a very good ability for being a lawyer, which is more like his friend Kazuma was the one that discovered it. But regardless, on the adventure of the Unbreakable Speckle Band, which apparently is based on a very popular book from Sherlock Holmes, apparently a lot of this is like that, he gets accused of murdering Kazuma, his best friend, and the lawyer that was actually invited to Great Britain. He discovers that his death was pretty much an accidental one, but also he was accused and framed for it. So you can imagine how that had to be something that got solved. Surprisingly, the first case in the series that I've seen that doesn't involve the court, unless you count all of the investigations, but those are a different breed. In The Adventure of the Runaway Room, we defend Magnus McGilded from the crime of stabbing a guy in a carriage in Great Britain. This case ends quite abruptly, since we seem to be having a weird situation with the evidence having been tampered with in the middle of the trial. We also meet the prosecutor, Baron Von Six, who is actually quite interesting. I don't even know how to take it, but also he sounds like Dracula, and I'm trying my best to make him sound like Dracula. I'm horrible at that, but it's working. This actually felt like nobody won except for the guy that was accused. The case gets dismissed, and he gets declared not guilty because of this. Immediately after that, dies. In episode 4, The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro, we defend Soseki Natsume, an apparently real author from Japan who came to study in Great Britain, as it showed here, and he also, the original one, also hates England as much as the guy that we're defending in the game is. Turns out that we meet a situation in which Soseki Natsume is made to be a stabber. Surprisingly, nobody dies here. The case ends with him actually being cleared of a crime. Everything was an accident, nobody had any murder intentions, and it was just an interesting ending. I'm not going to spoil it because it's pretty much the case before this one, and well, it's been so long, but I still don't want you to. I want you to experience it for yourself if you can. The point of this is that here is where finally, for the first time, Ryunosuke, our main character, feels like a real lawyer and gains the respect of Baron Von Six. He also... This is actually the first time in the game where he completely actually is in control at the end of the case in the British court. Because what happened in here was very traumatic to him. Now, we're finally going into the fight. I don't know what's gonna happen. And I've been watching everything else over and over again, except for this and of course the second game. And I have been dying, but like dying to know what are we gonna go here. This is the final case in the game. These are always amazing. I hope that what I'm here for doesn't break that rule. Now, whoops, maybe I should go through the continue one. Whoops. Yes, I want to skip this because I actually made a mistake, sorry. Yes. Back to title, because I am a moron. Don't save. Yes. Okay? Case start. The Adventure of the Unspeakable Story.
It's coming! Sholmes's cry pierced through the thick wall of fog around us. Wisps of vapor flowed over the pistol as I cocked it, and I waited, breathlessly, in the stillness. The silence lasted for what seemed an eternity, until, at last, it appeared. From the shadows of the cloud, an enormous beast sprang out upon us. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames. Its rumbling pant and hideous howl, so terrified was I that I began to tremble with fear. "Look well, Wilson," Sholmes declared, gazing upon the mystical beast. "For this is the diabolical hound of the Baskervilles."
Oh, whoa. Okay. Go. I think that I'm going to start making voices again. I really should warm my throat. And what a better way to do it? Then, with a cup of coffee. Blacker than a moonless night, hotter and more bitter than hell itself. That is coffee. Of course, that's a line from Godo. But of course, I had the quote here ready for this. But still, here we go. I forgot that part, hotter than hell itself. Oh god. Let's just leave it at the moment here. Here we go. Our first 2 months in London passed by in a flash. In that disconcerting courtroom experience we were first thrown into on the day that we arrived in the country. And in Soseki-san's terrible ordeal that had followed closely behind, we had emerged victorious. However, there then came an abrupt end to our opportunities to appear in court. Which was hardly surprising, of course, since I was nothing more than an amateur, and a known student of law than from a faraway land. So life in our little office was very quiet. That is, until it was shattered one day by that fateful telegram. Oh, we're now in April. Yes, right, it has been a while. Naruto does legal consultancy. That morning, I was woken by the unreserved knocking on the door by a telegram boy. Oh, that's the Daruma doll that he mentioned. God, I remember how we got here and it was pretty much just a barren room. It still looks kinda crumbled and everything, but I mean, it's there, it's ours. I can see the books, I can see the notes. Oh god, I can see the little teapot! But after he'd gone, Susato-san's behavior became very obviously strange. Susato-san? Yes! Is it time to leave for court already? Let me see. What case is it today? I don't think I'm scheduled to defend anyone at the moment, am I? Oh no, of course not. How silly of me. But I think Iris said she would make us breakfast this morning. So, shall we go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite? Yes! Iris makes the most delicious breakfast food. She does, doesn't she? And once our bellies are full, we can leave for court for fighting fit form. Let me see. What case is it today? Here we go again. She's acting as if she had a lot of cases, but we know that we don't. Wait, is that a balance of justice? Oh god, I love this place. That's a note. Oh god, I love this. Let's see. That spade has been in here since we started renting the place. Oh, that's not a spade, Naruhodo. It's a shovel. No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. No, spades are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a shovel. Oh my god, is this the step ladder and ladder one? I don't want to dig a hole for myself, so let's leave it. This is adorable. It's a spring as last, and the weather is warmer now. But I love the smell of the fire and the steam rising from the kettle. Kettle! Not a teapot, a kettle. Oh, would you like some tea, Naruhodo-san? Thank you, Susato-san, but I'm alright for now. With the green tea Susato-san makes me from time to time, and Iris' unique herbal infusions, this place is paradise for a true tea lover. Green tea is such a wonderful accompaniment to British tea cakes, don't you think? I'll miss this game so much. So this is the tea set that Susato-san brought with her from Japan. Let's hope she hasn't noticed me slipping sugar and milk into my teacup when she makes it. It's just so bitter! It's a drink to be enjoyed, Naruhodo-san. You really don't have to force yourself to drink it, you know. I don't like to see you screw up your face, so... She knows! He really is a wimp. We've only been here in London for about 2 months now, but my desk is starting to look like a little messy already. You could tidy up once in a while! Sato-san, I always say, making a mess is a small sacrifice to peace for being able to further your studies. And time spent tidying up is time you can devote to the same cause. And time spent on ridiculous arguments is time that could be better spent on some simple housework. I feel called out in the real world. He wins, but I'm supposed to be the lawyer here. Oh my god, you lost your argument against your assistant. Oh, the Daruma doll, of course. Ah, the Daruma doll I brought with me from home. Still with only one eye colored in. I said I'd color the other eyes once I won my first court case here in Bradenbound, but you have won, haven't you? Why, in fact? Because I feel as though I'm still lacking as a lawyer. I tell you what, why don't you color the other eye once you think I'm a proper, fully fledged lawyer? If you insist. I really love her. I really love her. I love the characters here. I miss them so much. Oops. Let's see if something here changed. Asuma Asobi. Okay. It really didn't change. Oh, right. What do I have in my core record? Of course. I rent our own office and room. Executing medicine, blah blah blah. Okay. Oh, now, how did I... Oh god. Really? Oh, it's just the arrows, of course. Here it is. Ah, this must be the telegram. Let's see. Ah! No! You mustn't look at that! Not under any circumstances! Alright! I won't! I'm sorry, Naruhodo-san, but you can be very mischievous at times. Then put the telegram away if you don't want people looking at it! You know, I've never seen inside your room there, Susato-san. I've never even peeped inside. I should think so, too! A young man's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets, you know. Whatever you say, young maiden. Okay, we saw everything here. It means a great deal to me, you know, that you cherish his armband so and wear it each time you bring court. Well, it's very important to me. It's what shows that I'm a lawyer. And whenever I wear it, I feel as though it gives me strength. Rukasuma. I absolutely can't be without it, especially when I'm at a critical point in a trial. Oh, that explains his animation where he just lifts up on the arm. But just the other day I noticed you wearing it when we went to visit that park. Sometimes I forget to take it off. So, what was it about? The telegram that was delivered this morning, I mean.
Oh, a telegram? I don't know what you're talking about.
Really? Sorry, but you're not going to get away with that.
Well, I didn't think I would.
God, she's so honest.
Actually, don't give it a moment and stuff. It's nothing interesting. Boring, in fact. It was just a boring old telegram.
That's 3 times now that she's tried and failed to convince me it was nothing.
I promise that I'll tell you about it at some point.
Alright, I understand. Oh, I wonder. With the feature we've moved in recently, this place is starting to feel like a real office. My lodging is an office, located in the attic above the suite rooms rented by Mr. Sholmes. I call it a consultancy, but clients aren't exactly beating down the door. When you're ready, let's go downstairs for breakfast. Not yet, but the home and the office of the world-famous The Great Detective and his young companion Iris, and send people all over the globe come to engage his consulting detective services. Okay? Second, Soseki-san. I suppose Soseki-san will have arrived back in Japan by now, won't he?
Yes, I should think so. He left immediately after that terrible ordeal. Which...
Oh wow! I had forgotten that I'm still not able to do that high of a voice, or more like I haven't done it in ages.
Which would mean he should have... Which would mean he should have completed the budget sheet already, or be just a few days away.
Oh boy. 4 nights ago we had that very long telegram from him. Do you remember? Complaining of sick. God, that is so Soseki-san. But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well.
Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san?
I was just wondering what might have become of Soseki-san had he stayed in London, that's all. Oh god, this is...
You mean, as regards Lord Ben Six? The Reaper?
Yes. I can't help but wondering if seasickness would have paled into insignificance in that case. The Reaper of the Bailey, Lord Ben Six. What is it they say? That no one who stands in the dock can be saved from the Reaper, right? Oh my god, yes, do you remember how I told you that Mr. Magilda died? Like the way that Narmari's trial ended on the very day we arrived in London.
Even 2 months now, the cause of that dreadful fire is still a mystery.
Yes, but at least Soseki-san is safely out of the quorum now. Of the country now. Presumably that means...
that the curse of the Reaper can only take effect within the confines of the city of London, perhaps?
I'm gonna move this a bit so that the microphone is closer to me. I hope that it isn't that loud, but it is. Even if that's the case, it's little comfort. I have a terrible sense of foreboding.
If the legend of the Reaper is to be believed, it would mean he wields the sword of justice himself.
Okay, let's see if this works better. Nah, let's just leave it at that. There it is. Okay.
If the legend of the Reaper is to be believed, it would mean he wields the sword of justice himself.
Come to think of it, I wonder what he's been up to these past 2 months. Surely, not wielding that sword against more acquitted defendants.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's good.
Apparently, Lord Ben Six has not appeared in court once since our last encounter.
Oh?
Yes, since the Soseki-san's trial. He's withdrawn from judicial service against it seems.
Really?
Just like before.
When he wasn't seen in court at all for several years. So it's just been me who's had to face him in his recent spate of trials then? Just my luck.
I wonder if luck doesn't come into it.
Sorry? What was that?
Oh, nothing, never mind.
Where is my... There it is. Just to be able to keep schedule on this, I'm gonna put it over here. There it is. There it is.
Oh, nothing, never mind.
Okay. Nothing more to do. Let's go for breakfast at the Sholm Suit.
Morning, Bruno. Morning, Susie.
Oh my god, Iris, I haven't seen you in a while.
Good morning, Iris.
What is that sound? I just remembered, they did mention that Shorms likes to play the violin, right? Iris?
What is it, Bruno?
What is that terrible noise? It sounds like a cat being strangled.
Ah, yes. You noticed that, didn't you? Early isn't in the best form this morning, it seems.
Hello, Shorms. Oh my god. Hello. Oh my god, I had never seen this spread before.
Hello, Mr. Shorms.
Good morning. Oh my god, I would want this picture. Good morning today, perhaps. Has something happened, Mr. Shorms? You look miserable, and the way you were playing the violin before. My analytical mind is dead. Music is dead. The world is dead. Damn this blanch existence! What is wrong with him? That's all it is, my dear fellow. Nothing of consequence.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Well, Iris, isn't it time we ate? Some dry toast and insipid coffee for me, if it's not too much. Oh my god, he's sucking so slow I cannot catch up. Some dry toast and insipid coffee for me, if it's not too much trouble. Whoa, really? Hey, isn't this a Saki's cat? Oh look, it's Water High!
Good morning, boy.
Meow. That must be some sort of tiny door for cats to use. But how did it get there?
Well then, everyone, time for breakfast. Oh, wonderful. Let me help you, Iris.
It would indeed be a fine day to die. I need something to look different. Hey, wait! The machine! Something's missing from Mr. Shorm's desk. You had to sell it? Was that what happened, man? Did you have to sell everything? Are you getting poor?
Mr. Naruto, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't you? You're very mischievous.
You know, time to the conclusion. Of course, because this is pretty much the same conversation from last time. But I still want to see this. This is where Iris notes down ideas, isn't it? Let's see what it says today. Ah, the Boss Combi Valley Mystery.
Oh, how intriguing! It must be title of Iris' latest work. Oh my, I wonder what fantastic tales awaits us.
Sato-san looks like an angel, but I bet she's dreaming of the most unsavory crime you could imagine. Oh, right. You need a crime to make this. That's a little charming white shelf, and full of charming little bottles too. But the concept of them aren't quite so charming, it seems.
This is the future, Mr. Naruto. You can't deny it. I'm saving my money so that I can buy some chemistry apparatus as well.
Lord, chemistry, takedown throws. What the better skills you boast, Mr. Sato?
As useful as they are, I'm not sure that my throwing skills are worthy of inclusion in that list.
This is good. These are all mementos of Mr. Shone's past cases, I think. If he'd been involved in my case, I wonder if the beefsteak from the carnival would be on display here.
A mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mystery dancing man, a bust of Napoleon. Ah, what an entrancing collection!
It looks like an untidy assortment of junk to me rather than like what's on my own shelves.
Well, you really ought to learn to keep your things in order, Mr. Naruto.
No favoritism there at all. Iris' beautiful tea set is there on the table as usual. A cup of one of her special herbal blends always helps me to relax when I'm feeling the strain.
The English pastime of tea has many similarities with our own tea ceremony customs, right? I changed the dialogue there, but it kinda fits. It's the idea of hospitality behind it. That's the essence of tea.
Come to think of it, I haven't seen Iris doing much writing recently. There's paper already set up in the typewriter, look, as if she's about to start.
That reminds me, when I mentioned that Iris was in the process of writing a full-fledged novel, Mr. Natsume was most impressed.
Ah, yes, Mr. Natsume.
That's what I'll be doing.
That's what I'll be doing too once I'm back in Japan!
It's a true finely clenched fist and teeth.
And he does, actually. I think that he ends up writing one that is called pretty much Waganai, which is the name of the cat. Take a look. There's on top of these shelves. Oh, this is actually the bookshelf. Okay. So on the shelves, chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. If still have upsides, I can help feeling like that the whole lot is going to topple at any moment.
Oh, it's such a charmingly uncanny collection of paraphernalia, isn't it?
It just looks messy to me, like my desk.
But you, Mr. Naruto, must learn to tidy up after yourself.
No further reason there then. Favoritism. I got stuck on my own. Okay. The fire's burning comfortably in the grate again today. It's a very different feeling to Japanese hibachi somehow.
Oh! Look at that photographic print of a lady displayed on the mantelpiece! Could it be? Yes! It must be! It's the woman! Oh, how exciting!
Is that supposed to mean something to me? I got an achievement for that? Why? Wait, could it be when he says a woman? We'll see. Yeah, there's pretty much nothing here anymore. Look at Mr. Shone's, it's completely clear. Isn't that enormous machine usually in it?
We can never hope to understand what goes on in the crate detective's mind, Mr. Naruto. Why, next time we're invited, we may find he's vacating the entire suit!
That's scarily plausible, actually. Pretty much everything except for air. Here it comes. Time to get my throat destroyed. Wagahari. Mr. Natsume's cat seems to have settled into his new home then.
Oh yes, and I become very attached to little Wacky.
It would appear his previous owner is completely forgotten about him. Oh boy, I need to do something. A second. Alright, I also need to make sure that this one doesn't sound. There it is. Oh, no, I actually need this, I just remembered. I guess you noticed too. Yes. Hello, Ayadric. How you doing today? It's finally for the first time in ages I'm playing Ace Attorney. I'm having so much fun. Yes, I know you're here. Okay, I'm gonna lower the volume over here for a minute because oh my god, this can be very difficult to deal with. Okay, there it is. Okay, I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy to be here. I haven't had the time to actually do this, and I just started just like, oh my god, there's so many things in this room that I actually started like half an hour ago. But I guess that's the magic of Ace Attorney. Yes, finally, content. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, my chat is actually working this time. You see, last time that it happened, it kinda got mixed up with another channels. But whatever. It would appear his previous owner is completely forgotten to him. Cats are unfeeling creatures. Their mews are as empty as the hearts of the muses. Alexis, do you think that this is true? Oh, that's adorable.
If Mr. Natsumi had no intention of taking Wagi back to Japan, I wonder why he kept him in the first place.
I expect he would have taken him if he could. But pets are strictly forbidden aboard steamships in our experience.
And for good reason! Terrible things can happen if the rules of passage are not obeyed.
Oh my god. Okay, I don't think that I want to give you background of this, but there's a reason why she says this. She's saying this.
Well, I don't mind, because Wagi is adorable! Yes, you are.
Yes, he really is. Oh yes, what about the door? I don't remember seeing that tiny thing on the main door before. Where did that come from?
Oh, you noticed? You're observant, Bruno. Look, I use stakes. It's my latest invention.
Oh my god. What is that?
I call it the Cat Flapomat.
That what?
Gosh, a machine for making doors just for cats? That's right. It can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Wagi in seconds.
Oh my god, that thing is just a saw blade.
And it can do it in any door at all time. No matter what it's made of, it's very powerful, you see.
Oh my god! This girl. Wouldn't it have been quicker just to make a cat flap? Oh, oops. Wouldn't it have been quicker just to make a cat flap rather than making a machine that can make the cat flap?
Well, yes, maybe, but now I can make cat flaps anywhere I like.
That is scary. Oh god, that has knives in it.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. You must make one for us in the door of our office upstairs, Iris.
She really knows how to come up with unconventional inventions, this girl. My god. Why is she so scary? Okay. And let's give it to Schultz. Dear lord, this guy. Mr. Sean, could I ask for your opinion about this? You allure me to raise your languid head with the promise of some mental exaltation. Yet in my morbid depression, I am confronted with the most mundane of problems. Oh! My mind finds greater stimulation in the unforgiving monotony of the floor than in your miserable offering. Oh my god! I want that one. Always glad to help. Oh, my head weighs heavy on my shoulders. I'm pretty sure that he has a headache. You seem to be very unhappy this morning, Mr. Sholmes. What's happened? It used to be the
case that in my hands. This violin sung like the dawn chorus. Its melissonant tones would make flowers bloom.
It would?
But now, the muses are unamused with me. The goddesses of music have thrown me over. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? 4 hours I have fought, 4 days even. Through the night I have endeavored to no avail. That sound, my tone, is lost. That brilliant, clear, unwavering tone, gone forever! No more recital of some brittle emotion! Well, you haven't been practicing much lately, have you, Hurley?
Don't worry, I'm sure it will come back to you in time. No, I don't like that voice.
It may worse, Mr. Naruhodo. The goddess of the art are fickle. One day they bestow genius on a man. The next, they unmercifully withdraw it.
Lord, he's slow at speaking today. Oh dear.
What is happening to me? If they take the tone I have for the violin from me, what is left from pity's sake? What is left?
Seduction perhaps? Isn't that what you're known for? I was thinking the same thing, to be honest.
Mr. Sholmes, I don't like to pry, but... your desk looks...
Wow, I really cannot go that high.
Your desk looks rather empty today. Oh, well done, Mr. Tataton. Your observational skill...
He didn't say sand, and I got straight up because I tried to make the sand.
Well done, Mr. Sato. Your observational skill do you credit. Oh, no, Mr. Sholmes. They fall into insignificance when compared to yours.
You'd struggle not to notice, wouldn't you?
You mean Hurley's great Hurley's great analytiscope.
There it is.
That's in Windybanks now.
Sorry? It's at Windybank?
No, Windybanks. The pawnbrokery.
Oh my god, we're poor. I knew that we were poor. You got to sell it.
Pawn? What?
You mean you pawned that enormous machine of yours?
It has some considerable value, you see. Quite undeservedly. But isn't it a very important machine for your work? I do wish you had consulted us if your situation had become so desperate. I should have gladly passed what little income I have to you. Here, madam, things are far from desperate. But the pawnbroker has your wonderful machine. How can it be anything but desperate? Making use of a pawnbrokery is quite ordinary here in London, I assure you.
It is? It doesn't sound ordinary at all.
It would seem that neither of you fully understand how pawnbroking works.
What's to understand exactly? What do you mean when you said we didn't fully understand how pawnbroking works?
To the people of London, pawnbrokers are akin to banks.
Banks?
On Mondays, merchants relinquish their finest jackets and trappings to their pawnbroker of choice. With the money they receive in return, they are able to trade happily through that week. And then on Saturdays, they go to recover the things using the money they've earned. I had no idea. This has been a fascinating lesson for us.
I am mixing up Iris and Susato because they are too high for me.
Everyone does it, you see. Everyone does it, you see. Especially people in Inner London. This is not helping my boys. And should they have money to spare, they would purchase another fine jacket. Not to wear, obviously, but to pawn, should the need arise.
So... This is mostly for merchants, right?
Oh! Oh, how ingenious! So whenever we have something that's getting in the way, we leave it at the device, you see. A pawnbroker can be thought of an extremely secure bolt.
Who would have thought that even pawnbrokers are different here in Great Britain?
Of course, you have to watch Harley with it. Sometimes he pulls things he really shouldn't. Don't you, Harley?
What does it matter? The world is dead to me now. Yeah.
Ah, what was that?
Where? What's wrong with the cat?
What was that? Oh no! What has tangled up in your violin?
Oh my god.
I think he thinks it's a toy.
No! What's he doing to it?
Oh dear, Mr. Sean's precious violin.
Why should I care? What? I shouldn't be surprised. If the guy is a more accomplished musician than I. No. Oh my god. I wonder if Mr. Sherlock Holmes was actually this depressive. Or mood changing. Okay, there is.
Mr. Sholmes is really a simple spirit, isn't he?
Oh my god, I finished my coffee.
Well, anyway, I'll put it back where it lives, shall I, Harley?
Out of the car's reach if possible. Maybe we should assess the damage. I guess examine. There it is. So this is the violin, is it? Oh, I see a strand.
It's a Stradivarius, one of the finest violins in the world, made by the renowned Italian luthier Antonio Stradivari.
I see. It really doesn't look like anything special to me.
I happened upon it covered in dust languishing in a pawn shop down a nondescript back alley. The broker had no idea of its value, so I was able to purchase it for a mere 55 shillings.
How honorable of you.
And until today, it has been my faithful companion in every great Paganini-inspired performance I've made. I ask you, is there a reason to live in a world devoid of music? To tolerate its brief existence? No! There is none.
Oh my god.
Mr. Sholmes? What, dear madame, what? My thoughts are preoccupied with fancies of release from this dual routine. Well, it's about the ballet. It looks very different to normal, don't you think?
Hmm? What do you mean, Miss Susato?
Oh, Susie's right!
Wait, why are we getting excited about this?
Yes! The tone of the wood is completely different.
Ow.
And that's not all. I'm sure there was no crack here before.
Wait, it's not even the right size, is it?
What's this? I'm terribly sorry to have to tell you this, Mr. Sholmes, but that instrument isn't a violin at all.
Then, what?
I believe it's an entirely different instrument called a viola.
What? What? What?
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, are you alright?
You're right! You're quite right! This isn't my fabled Stradivarius! Wait, how do you confuse that? To what? Pray, is this piece of string full Sam? Not your faithful performing partner then?
Ah, I see what must have happened.
You do, Iris?
This is just a simple mix-up.
It sounds like Iris might be able to tell us exactly what happened if we ask her. Oh, right, over here. Ah, yes, the letters B and R inscribed on the wall in the bullet hole. Isn't it in the Shells of the Queen or something?
It's so delightful to see in the flesh. Having read about it in the story, it was so inspiring. I fired 100 arrows in my own while at home to make the character Pursuit of Susato, you know.
Super? But perhaps there are some other things degraded that it does that you don't need to copy. Okay, because I actually just remembered that I hadn't seen that one and I didn't know that the text changed here. Okay. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Mix up. What did you not mean by a mix-up, Iris?
Well, you see, this violin, sorry, this viola, I mean, was at Windbanks until last week. At the pawnbroker?
Not Mr. Sean, the love musical partner. There is a proverb from the East, with which you are no doubt familiar, my dear, my dear fellows. Always let a beloved child travel.
Ah, yes indeed.
So you send your beloved violin to the pawnbrokers in the hope that it will experience personal growth?
Oh, what a wonderful idea.
That doesn't make any sense. Last week I pawned my great analytic scope in order to release my precious instrument. But it will appear Mr. Windybank mistakenly furnished me with this low-tottery fiddle instead. But my ears cannot be deceived by the hollow timbre of this piece of timber. No, but your every sense was deceived by the fact that it just had strings. Dear Lord! Shut up! A fine state of affairs this is, and why I always say, Mr. Naruto, never trust a pawnbroker. They will try to fiddle you every time. But earlier you told us that you could think about pawnbrokery as an extremely secure vault. I love this moron. I love this big idiot. Come, Mr. Naruto. Dilly-dallying will get you nowhere. Sorry? Crunching your toast with that bacon accent, raising your coffee so obtusely. Are you not a little embarrassed by your own conduct, considering the urgency with which we are faced? We must visit Mr. Windybank's broker at once. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Jones? Precisely, Mr. Sato. Without a moment's delay. But I haven't finished my bacon and eggs. My dear fellow, surely do you not still intend to crunch your bacon with an increasingly bacon aspect, to fetch your egg ever more obtusely? Alright, say no more. Let's go then. I was hungry. I'm not hungry, actually. My real self. Don't worry, Ronnie. I'd be happy to heat it up wherever you... Don't worry, Runa. I'd be happy to heat it up for you again later. There it is. If I do this, and I can't raise my voice, I can actually make his point now. This is not easy to do, to be honest, and it kinda fills my nose for some reason. Oh, thank you, Iris. It happens, I'm rather curious to see what a British pawnbroker looks like. This is a very interesting way of starting this case. Well, there's no case yet, I guess. Did he change your mood? I mistook you there, Mr. Naruto. Unofficial I may be, but I'm nevertheless a professional. I couldn't summon such a humdrum item. For anything less than £5, bye-bye. Oh, no, I didn't want you to examine it. I just wanted to ask if... My dear fellow, as a professional consulting detective, I couldn't possibly venture an opinion. For anything less than £5. Are you perhaps hoping to purchase a new telescope in the near future, Mr. Jones? Indeed I am. As you know, it has long been an ambition of mine to discover a new star and name it for myself. I love it. Because your earthly stardom isn't enough. Okay. So we have Shulm's suit, Naruhodo's legal consultancy, Baker Street. Wait! We haven't actually been available at Baker Street. Boston Elton Street, on which can be found Mr. Shulm's office and Windybank's pawnbrokery. There's a large park nearby, too. What a bustling place! Oh, London is such a fantastic city. I really like the time and everything here. Okay, let's see. There. Look at all the different things in the window of this shop.
Ah, that's Windybank's, the pawnbrokery.
It looks much smarter than the pawnbrokers in Japan, doesn't it?
Yes, you're right. I found pawn shop at home rather inapproachable personally.
It reminds me of tearfully parting with my favorite fountain pen. It feels so miserable.
What doesn't kill us makes us stronger, Mr. Naruhodo.
They really are next door. It's already been 2 months since we started taking lodgings here above Mr. Shulm's office. Still can't quite believe it. I never expected things would turn out like this.
Oh, I know! You'll actually be sharing accommodation with the world's greatest detective! If I ever find myself before a court of law now, I will have not one regret.
I don't know what you're talking about. But I'll be happy to defend you, of course. Okay. Let's go. It's... There it is. Move. Windybanks. Percy Bakery. So, this is a British pawnbrokery. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Oh my, there are all sorts of tools and contraption in here that I've never laid eyes on before.
Ah, Susato-san, and the spark of wonder in your eyes. You can't wait to score the shelves, can you? I get the impression you enjoy places like this?
Oh yes, I don't know why, but seeing such a lot of things I don't understand is a real thrill for me.
My dear fellows, let's not forget why we're here. Oh,
Mr. Shulm's.
We're calling on matters of business, not pleasure. And clearly Mr. Shulm means business too, judging from the spark of fury in his eyes. Ah, Mr. Shulm, sirs, welcome back. Did you hear that praising welcome? Well, yes, we're potential customers after all. We are disgruntled customers, Mr. Naruhodo, and it's time to inform Mr. Windybank of our honor. Come! The fight is the foot. Oh my god. I don't care. I really want to see everything here. That's a beautiful calendar. What are you doing, my dear fellows? We are not here to browse for interesting curious. Oh my god. Who do you... Korekuta-san. There it is. Korekuta-san. We have come to teach this broker a lesson.
Oh, but there are just so many fascinating items.
It looks as though we'll have to talk with Miss Windybank first before you can explore in here, Mr. Sato. That is a shame. Everything here has been completely negated to us. Okay. Mr. Windybank, about this... Let me see. Is this voice correct for this guy? It sounds like it. Okay, let's see. I'll give you tuppence for it.
No, I don't want to pawn it!
There it is.
Naturally, you will recall this, which I retrieved from you some days ago.
Yes.
This second-rate fiddle is not my faithful instrument, Mr. Winterbank. The color of the wood is different. It has holes in it. It's not even the same size. A wonderful summary of our observation, Mr. Sholmes.
I'm so very sorry, sir. How unforgivable of me, often an inexcusable mistake for a pawnbroker. I actually think that I nailed completely this guy's voice because he sounds kinda pathetic in his movements. There is only one way to make amends. Wait. Whoa! Okay, he really is a whip, but I did not expect him to do this. Why is the music so happy? I'm taking a picture of this. I shall have to take my own life. I don't think that will be necessary, do you? If I may just say one thing before I pop off. God, I don't like this. I don't like this. Yes? It was you, Mr. Sholmes, who took it upon himself to remove the item the other day. I believe. Oh my god.
Sorry?
As I recall, I entered the storm to fetch your violin when I heard,
Here it is.
You did? And when I turned to controvert you, you had taken the violin and left, sir. Oh my god, it's an idiot. Dude, why? Why? Why is Sean such a big idiot? However, there can be no doubt that the blame lies firmly at my own door for allowing you to leave. So I shall not crumble or grouse any longer. I shall obey this guilt die with me. No, stop, my dear fellow, the fault is mine.
It would appear that the fight is over.
Oh my god. Oh god.
I do humbly apologize, Mr. Winterbank. Evidently my questionable disposition precipitated this tragedy.
Well, you wouldn't be Mr. Sherlock Holmes without that questionable disposition, now would you?
I do believe you may be right, sir.
It's either laugh or cry, I suppose. You are, it must be said, one of my more challenging customers. I needn't remind you of the peculiar collection of items you brought through my door in the past.
Oh? Peculiar items?
In the extreme, ma'am. For example, the unpublished manuscript of an eponymous work, The Nobles of Sherlock Holmes or some shit. Oh my god! So that's why Iris was angry about this.
Oh my! A new full-fledged novel?
And unpublished?
A story I've yet... An unpublished story I've yet to learn?
Oh, wait, what's going on? Oh my god. So apparently Isa from Tu Stream Generico is also streaming tonight. If you wanna go and check him out, you're more than welcome to, but I still am gonna keep going through the Great Ace Attorney. Okay, here, let's keep going. That is pretty much the update I got. I guess that I'm more suited to be a... what is the word for this? I like to distribute my my attention to my friends. No, it's not a sim. It's not rare that you can see a lot of my account being used as of late to redirect you to the channels from my friends that are live right now. And considering that I don't play that often, it's a good thing that I have something to share with you, even if it's my friends. But let's keep going because I really have missed this game so much, and it's not wonder why. This is so hilarious. Oh my God, Susato, they always Sherlock Holmes super fan.
And unpublished? A story I've yet to read, you mean? Forgive me. Wait, before you die, you must tell me more.
She's not caring about him dying. Okay, Pembroke, just before. I wonder, could I do something? Ah, a gentleman from the east, I see. Yes, that sable suit. I suppose I could offer you 6 pence for it. No, I'm not selling the sword. Without wishing to offend the Tony somewhat. Oh. Sorry? Aha! But for your splendid attire, ma'am, 5 guineas, no less. The colors are exquisite. The design is solid. Easterny actress at its finest, may I say.
Oh, my 5 guineas? Oh, my 5 guineas, you say? How interesting.
Why do I feel as though I've suffered some sort of defeat here? Actually, I was hoping to ask you about your business. I've heard it said that pawnbrokers are used rather like banks here in London. Yes, sir, indeed. Many of my customers utilize the establishment as you described. I appraise their items and offer them a proportionate loan and 2 months of secure storage. Oh, I get it. If in that time they repay their original sum to me plus their agreed interest, their items are happily returned. I get it.
But what happens if they don't pay you the money?
Then the items are offered for sale in my shop. As you can see on the shelf behind me.
So you never sell items before the 2 months has passed then?
That's right, ma'am. That's right. Yeah, God, that fell off. Which means some considerable responsibility rests on my shoulders. Should a customer's precious belongings be lost, the only recompense is for me to end it all! Oh my God! No.
The very idea, Mr. Windibank, is an absurdity. One should never take off one's demise so casually.
There's the man who was telling us all it was a good day to die only this morning.
And let us not forget that I have already helped you take measures to ensure such a tragedy never occurs.
Oh, what sort of measures?
I engineer a simple device, which Mr. Windibank has installed here in this shop. I call it the Red-Handed Recorder.
Like an automatic camera or something like that?
Is that not so, Mr. Windibank?
What was that Liv sigh about? I guess that he didn't like it.
What on earth is a red-handed recorder? Yar, my dear fellow. There are 2 just below the ceiling. I can see what appears to be a camera attached to some sort of timing device. Very astute. It is indeed a camera, furnished with some 100 pieces of celluloid film. And every 30 minutes precisely, the camera automatically records the appearance of the shop.
Here, I have an example I can show you. 4 a.m.
Ah, yes, a print from the camera set to record activity at the shop counter. I developed a special type of films, so sensitive it produces a crystal clear image even in darkness.
Oh boy, he's advanced.
Really, that's extraordinary. Yes. You can clearly see the counter and the door behind it. Look!
That is very good, to be honest, especially for the start of the last century.
So you see, were someone to enter the premises with ill intent, its identity would be summarily exposed. But did you not say that the photographic prints were taken at 30-minute intervals? Indeed, as you say, my dear madam. And what if the incident were to occur in between times? One could only say That would be cruel to the fate.
Oh my god.
I must confess your advices have been giving me some cause for distress of late.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Winterbank. Surely they are anything but distressing. Reassuring is the word.
It's the cost of the film, sir. You most graciously placed not one but 2 cameras in my shop after all. Which means I must pay for 9 on 100 totally useless prints every single day. I'm afraid the cost of the film will bring me before I'm very much older.
So this thing is actually useful. But again, we're in the start of the 11th century, and of course that means it's very, very expensive.
Nevertheless, a small price to pay to ensure the safety of my preferred pawnbroker, you know? My dear fellows, we verge on an age where safety and security come at a price.
Oh, heaven help us.
Dear Lord, you're an idiot.
I must know more. Tell me everything.
Wow, Susato-san is really far up now.
Is there really an unpublished story under this very roof?
Well, one day the gentleman here brought in an old metal chest, you see.
Oh my god. Of course Iris is angry.
I should like to entrust it to your care for a while, Mr. Winterbank.
For a chest like that? 1 shilling, sir, not a farthing more.
It houses something of great value indeed. The latest manuscript, Counting the Adventures of Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
I beg your pardon, a manuscript? You wish to deposit a manuscript?
Indeed I do, for I am confident it will be quite safe here.
And that was that. As such, Mr. Sholmes let a tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom.
Mr. Sholmes, is that really true? Do I say that someone doesn't want to talk about this? I continue to pay your fee, do I not? Then can't I continue to store my belongings securely?
Of course, sir, of course. There's safe and sound with me, I assure you, on my life! This is all very strange. Now there, Mr. Sholmes, allow me to return your precious violin.
Oh, the very thing! Thank you, Mr. Winterbank.
The Stradivarius.
Perhaps this might mark the end of the night of the particular items to try to pop, As if anything were to happen to one of them. This would be the only answer!
I really think you ought to stop waving that gun around.
Someone could get hurt.
You're not.
Sorry?
I've only loaded a single bullet, so no one but myself could possibly be harmed.
That's not really what I meant.
Good day to you then, Mr. Winterbank.
It's been a pleasure as always, Mr. Sholmes!
I'm kinda scared for this guy.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, now we can explore at last.
Oh, that's right! Well, everything from here has been taken care of.
Look at that enormous ledger open on the counter there.
Ledger? What's a ledger? Oh, okay. It's a registration, okay.
Mr. Winterbank, Mr. Winterbank is, if nothing else, very particular about the recording the items he accepts.
It had to be, otherwise he gets himself into all sort of trouble.
Which might explain the thing that catches my eye far more than the ledger. There is revolver here. Do not entertain even a single thought of pilfering an article herein, my dear fellow.
Huh?
I assure you, Mr. Winterbank will not hesitate to draw that weapon with a speed belying his sport in his eyes. Oh, you don't mean he... blow his brains out? Indeed, in recompense for his plunder. Oh my. But in any case, of course we could never do such a thing. How could you even suggest it?
Ugh. I don't like the fact that this guy is pretty much pretty all the time. There seems to be a little door hidden behind that curtain here. That leads to the storage room, where Mr. Windybag keeps articles that are currently in pawn. This is gonna be an interesting case because I'm pretty sure that's gonna be here.
Ah, I see.
There's nothing of particular interest inside. I certainly wouldn't recommend any larcenous activity. Recommended or not, it's not something I tend to do. There is but one key, and Mr. Windybag keeps it in his pocket at all times. Oh god. Before he sleeps, he places it into a small pot, which he slides under his pillow.
How on earth did you know that, Mr. Sholmes?
I am a detective, sir. It is my business to know what others do not. I am frequently surrounded by information that I neither cared for nor wish to retain.
Mr. Sholmes, you are a wonder!
And the prime suspect is his pawnbroker is ever burgled. Are we going to defend him sometime? Oh my god, that would be very cool!
Look at this! What could this lovely big shiny box be?
That, my dear madam, is a music box. Surely you have such things in your own country?
Oh my! Yes, but I've never seen one so large before.
Shall we listen a little while?
What a sublime sound!
It's like the music of...
It's like the music of angels.
I've never heard anything like it before in my life. This particular specimen is of the larger variety, commonly found in public houses and restaurants. There is a metal disc inside on which the notes to be played are recorded. Oh, so this is a... Oh, I forgot what's the name of that thing. Yeah, but I know which one they mean. It's a jukebox, basically, but one with vinyl. Simply by replacing the disc with another, any music you care to imagine can be played. Wait, a vinyl is not metal, is it? But it's kinda similar, I guess.
My goodness! What a simply delightful machine!
Indeed, Dr. popularity has waned recently with the development of the gramophone, of course. Oh, there it is. The gramophone, of course.
Ah, science and technology advance at such an overwhelming pace.
Yeah, they do.
What an assortment of things there are on these shelves here. Crockery, footwear, clocks, and watches. Almost anything you care to imagine.
These are forfeited items, offered for sale by the pawnbroker. What does that really mean, though? When you pawn, or colloquially pop, an item, the broker loans you money against its worth. He stores the item for a agreed period of time, after which the loan must be repaid. If not, he is free to display it in his shop for sale, at a price of his choosing. Oh, yes, now you explain it, I'm noticing little price tags on everything. Of course, simply paying the price, paying the agreed interest on this loan, one can extend the period of skipping it. So you may pawn that black garb of yours without fear, my dear fellow. My Treasure University uniform? Never! It is bonus my student spirit! Okay. And then we have... I guess... What is this?
Look at this! Whatever could it be used for?
It looks like a recorder, to be honest. I have no idea.
Ah! There's a small catch here, just here, Gina. Look.
We're going to open it, aren't we?
Oh my, that's amazing! It's some sort of spring-loaded mechanism.
Which we'll never manage to put back to the way it was before. What are you two doing? What? Us? Nothing! Nothing at all! Whatever this device is, it seems to have a pair of little windows to look through. So it's glasses. The feels as though I've seen something rather similar to this elsewhere.
Now, what did you suppose this rather enormous machine does?
It seems to have two little windows for looking through.
Allow me to enlighten you, my dear fellows.
You're looking at is a stereoscope. Oh my god, I have never seen one in real life.
A stereoscope? Fascinating.
Well, of course I have. It's more like a stereoscope. An old-time stereoscope, I guess.
It is aptly named, I assure you. Look through the eyepiece and see for yourself. Oh, I should be delighted to. Excuse me a moment while I just have a look. Just before you do, there is something I should point out. My dear fellows, in order to see the image properly, stereoscopically, where you will need to be cross up. However, if that is beyond you, it is of little consequence today. Alright then, I'm going to try it. Ah! Mr. Garikudo! You must see at once!
Alright then. So I need to be cross-eyed, like I'm trying to look at my own nose. What the?
Don't believe it!
It's just a photographic brain, but it seems like you could reach out and touch it.
Yes, the sense of death is startling, is it not? Stereoscopes are one of London's many fads.
Also, didn't that look like the maid from the second case? No, third. First case in London. Actually, I'm pretty sure that I was right on everything. It's the second car case, the third episode, and the first in London. There it is! Oh my god, this is a confusion.
Yes, the sense of death is startling, is it not? Stereoscopes are one of London's many fads. They are often found in little stalls in the park. People queue for hours to see them. Why? Why are people meddling with sludge? Like magic! It is no magic, my dear madam. It is well. Far too complicated to explain at present.
I'll set this lesson for another day.
Oh.
I ended up just explaining. That's not a calendar you could easily miss, is it? Today's 8.
Yes, that's not for sale, I must point out. It is an Eastern-style page-a-day calendar. Every night at midnight, I tear off the front page to reveal the following date's date.
This is gonna be interesting.
The perfect calendar for a tearaway fellow such as yourself, Mr. Windbank.
And who was it who walked out of here with a wrong violin before?
Well, when the agreed storage period has passed without repayment, articles are forfeited, you see. So I have to keep a close eye on the date. It's something of a pawnbroker's obsession, you may say.
Oh yes, I can see you're very dedicated to your job. What? Only tuppence for it? That ain't fair as you know it.
The articles were barely worth a penny, miss. I gotta offer more.
Sounds like there's an argument brewing over by the counter. Also, turns out that it was a woman.
Come on, that can't be right. Have you even had a...
Oh my god, it's Gina!
Come on, that can't be right. Have you had a proper purchase on it?
I've seen all I need to see, young girl.
Yes, it's Gina.
Wait, don't we know? I'm sure I recognize her. Yes, it's the young lady from Mr. McGillet's triumph 2 months ago.
Her name is... Okay, so I have to make a...
Scrooge McDuck's accent? Her name is Gina the Scrooge, my lord. She's a chancer. Here's her crust of a large crowd, relieving people of their purses. It's commonly called a pickpocket.
Wait, no, my accent for that one was completely different.
Gordon Bennett, you lot! Hello, Miss Lestrade. I hope you've been well. Why do you still have the gun? What? You remember me then, do ya?
Well, I remember being completely surrounded by that smoke, that's for sure.
So what are you doing in here?
This is not an exit easy to make.
Don't know that like the rest of us? Nothing to it? Come to pop that black whistle, sorry called Avia?
What is about those black uniforms that make everyone comment on it?
Ah, good day. Unless I'm much mistaken.
You would be the young pickpocket who stole our experimental smoke grenade launcher.
Ah, Mr. Sholmes!
So, you have something of value to pawn, do you? Allow me to see the article, and I shall negotiate with Mr. Windybank on your behalf.
Pull the other one! I don't need no help from some stuck-up D. Get out of my business, go on, or I'll make trouble for ya!
As you wish, Miss Lestrade. I will happily remove myself from your presence.
This is scary. This is awesome.
I miss this girl. He's really done it, he's gone.
I'm sorry, but as I said, there really is no room for negotiation here.
What is that thing he has in his hand? Some kind of metal disc? Could it be?
And you go on, leave me alone!
That is clearly for the music box.
Oh, Miss Lestrade, just pretend we aren't here. We shan't be offended in the slightest.
Sato-san can really stand her ground when she wants to. I'm pretty sure that I'm making a completely different voice for her. I don't mind because I've been hearing some of the from some Let's Player, and she seems to have a Cockney accent, which I don't know exactly how to translate that. I don't know how it sounds in essence. I'm pretty much just basing myself on what I've heard from other ones, like Yellow Apocalypse. But, of course, all I have from her is pretty much the second case. Sato-san can really stand her ground when she wants to.
Whatever.
Okay, so I was still examining it. Like, I wanna see it. Look at Mr. Windybank watching diligently over his phone, over his shop. There are still so many things I'm curious about.
I don't believe it is time for browsing, Mr.
Naruhodo. We'll probably see whether that argument has been resolved yet, I suppose. Okay. Would you have a look at, that's strange. Where's my armband gone?
What's the problem? Something wrong? Don't suppose...
You're looking for this? What are you, Trucy, right?
Yes, but how? And when? And how again?
I got talent for it, haven't I? I mean, what's bordering? That's bordering on black magic. Mix what I was about to say about my armband seem a little old.
So what do you want to tell me about it then?
She has a specific conversation for this. This is amazing. Somehow I really didn't think you were the sort of person who'd use a pawnbroker, Miss Lestrade.
Yeah, well I am, alright? I'm a Londoner just like everyone else. There's a problem now to you, is it?
No, not at all. It's just that, well...
Oh, I get it. I know what you're thinking. That thing probably doesn't even belong to her. Probably got it on the dive, didn't she?
I'm pretty sure that that's what's happening here.
You can see it running all over your chivy chase.
Chivy chase?
Well, I might have been thinking something along those lines. You're not going to deny it, Mr. Naruhodo?
Why would I? Alright then, I'm just going to come out and ask you straight. You want things that you steal from other people?
Well, I don't know how best to answer that, really, Suppose... sometimes... You're not going to deny it either, Miss Lestrade. But not this time, alright? I swear, that thing belongs to me!
just double checking my computer because this video is going long. I just want to see that I didn't completely fill my disk. No, but it's actually starting to be a bit heavy. Okay, let's keep going. The desk that Mr. Windybank is holding. Perhaps we should see what he has to say about all this. Oh, with him, not with her. Gina Lestrade.
He's been in before, of course. This little tatter done.
What? Wait.
This little tatter Demalion.
I see.
I brought some W's article or other with her every single time I'm at.
Duffus, what are you trying to say? I'm an honest customer, me!
Yeah, sure. So, is there something obvious about the disk you brought in today?
Well, if only it were that simple.
Sorry, what do you mean?
What she actually brought in was a storage ticket.
Storage tickets, though. Miss Lestrade has actually come to redeem an article from you today, is that right? Yeah, that's right. A girl like me has lots of stuff that needs storing.
Alright, Jess, that's definitely obvious.
The article in question was being forfeited at midnight tonight. But as she gave me the ticket for it and repaid both the loan and the interest, I was obliged to return the article to her.
But what was the article? Do tell us, Mr. Windybank.
The little scamp is wearing it, ma'am.
Her coat?
It's the overcoat that cheated them.
Oh.
What? What's wrong with that? It fits, doesn't it? I mean, it's mine, so of course it does! So what about the disc then? How does that come into all this?
Ah, the disc is something else. A new article to burn if the girl and I can agree on a price.
Mr. Windybank, what exactly is this metal disc that Miss Lestrade has brought in? It seems to have hundreds of tiny little bumps on its surface.
Pretty sure that is for the jukebox.
Ah, this is a music disc, you see. For use inside a music box.
In a music box?
What? You don't even know what a music box is? You Eastern Laurent too savvy, huh?
I like how they get suddenly out of it. Suddenly they get racist, and suddenly they get very racist in this game. I know that what a music box is. I've never seen one of these discs before.
A small portion of the metal disc encoded turn to be played by the music box. You simply insert the disc and set the machine going, and beautiful music plays.
It's so incredible. Tell us, what tune is on this disc?
Well, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you that. There are so many different types of music box, you see. British-made, German, Swiss. I have no way of knowing which particular machine this disc was made for.
Oh, I see.
That's it, in a nutshell.
Oh, pensé que... I thought that it was something more easy to understand.
I wouldn't have kindly customers for an item like this, even if the young lady forfeited it. And the item already offering more than I should at a penny.
That's a bucket of lies! He told me! It did! He said it was, well...
He? Who?
Never you mind! You're saying right, that's sold that is worth good money! I know it is!
Well then, you'll have to try your luck in another pawnbrokers, won't you?
Ah!
I'm confused. I thought you said that Miss Lestrade brought in a storage ticket today.
It's really quite simple. Yes, the child brought me a storage ticket and the money owed on it, as you say.
For this heavy black coat, which you returned to her care, as I understood.
That's right. Yes. And rather surprisingly, as soon as that little ragamuffin put the thing on, it went riffling through the pockets.
This is not your coat, is it, Gina? It is not your coat, it's... You stole the actual ticket for the coat. Oh, you mean...
What? You know it's rude to stare at a lady? Ah, I see. So it came from the pocket of the overcoat, did it?
Do you mean this? Yes, exactly, ma'am.
And she immediately tried to pawn it.
For quite a high price as well. It's all rather suspicious, I think. Gina?
Give it up, I'm just trying to pawn something like anyone else would. Miss Lestrade, may I ask who deposited the overcoat here in the first place? Well, me.
It doesn't really appear to be your size.
Me, old man! It's me, old man, ain't it?
Is it?
Miss Lestrade?
Yes, this is simply all rather suspicious. Hey! Who is it? Manini, how you doing tonight? Well, I've actually been enjoying myself playing this game today. How are you spending your night? It's good to see that I have some take that over here. Out of my way, please. Oh. Whoa. Okay, how do I voice this JoJo-like character? I feel like he's going to go in an adventure or something. Long time no see, it's been a while, I'm so happy to be here. I really took the time this time. I really have nothing to do today for the first time in ages. And I actually have time for myself. So that means I can stream this. And I'm so happy because it's been months and months of waiting. This was actually last year's I think, not Christmas, last year's birthday present, so I'm very happy about it, and also because I really wanted to keep going. Anyway, so let's see. Okay, so this is a very, very British guy. Or something. Who's this picture postcard English gentleman? Oh my god, he has a cane! Oh my god! Okay. Good day to you, ladies, gentlemen. No, a bit more. What's your problem, eh? There is no problem as long as you remove yourself. I've my matter to discuss with the proprietor. Oh my god, this guy is gonna be an asshole. And if you intend to make a problem of it, I shall see you outside, little girl, for hiding you deserve. For the hiding you deserve. There is.
Look, kinda obvious. I'm done talking with you, Jet. If you think you're such a gent, you should know how to wait in line.
Bloody hell, holy mackerel! I hear ya. Well, you're an impudent little brat, aren't you? Aren't you? Sorry, I cannot go with the... As well as a pickpocket.
Who are you? Oh, do you know what I mean?
God dang it, it's just so hard to voice here and just make this without sounding like I'm just babbling like a moron. Bloody hell, holy mackerel. It's hilarious. The question is, how do you not know who I am? You haven't the courtesy even to remember the faces of your victims, it seems. Well, of course it makes sense that he's angry at her.
What? You mean I? From you?
Rocker!
Yes, sir?
I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no?
Yes,
The article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once.
Oh my! Now that's a lie! What are you trying to pull?
Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel! And needless to say... Okay, I'm starting to be sure that this guy is actually from JoJo. Any music box discs too.
No! You can't have it! You just can't! It's me, old man's! Or it was, now it's mine! Goodness, Mr. Naruhodo. That is a very awkward situation.
Yes?
I think perhaps we should hear both sides of the story in a little more detail. Miss Lestrade, is what the gentleman is saying. What do you think? It is all lies, ain't it? Obviously. I swear my life, I never laid eyes on that dandy before.
Let's hear it now, you little ragamuffin. You stole it, didn't you? That ticket you brought in here just now.
No, I swear to God.
It was barely an hour ago. I was walking along the street minding my own business when this little gutterling ran into me. This is really gonna test my English. I knew at once what had happened. I've been robbed yet again. I thought to myself, those wretched pickpockets.
Yet again?
Oh yes, as you can see, I am a man of impeccable style. This isn't the first time that I've been targeted by these backslum scoundrels. Now then, relinquish my overcoat!
Come along now, Miss Lestrade. Give the good gentleman his coat back. If you're going to cause trouble, I shall have no choice but to call the police.
Hold on! Why does everyone think it's me? Because I mean you're a pickpocket girl. Just look at this dandy coat! And do you think I'm the dodgy one?
I'm sorry, but no one's going to believe you.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, what about the evidence? Yeah! Where's your evidence that I've stolen something, huh? Come on, let's see it.
Oh, I have evidence, naturally.
You what?
Evidence.
Evidence that the
No, it's actually Renosuke. Evidence that the article Miss Lestrade redeemed actually belongs to the gentleman.
Of course, we only need consult Mr. Windivine's ledger to know the truth. We'll be able to look up the name of the person who deposited the article in the first place. Yes, brilliant!
I'm very sorry, but I'm afraid that won't be possible. I never ask customers' names. That's a strict policy of mine.
But why not?
Well, now, as you can imagine, some of my customers have circumstances to consider. A great many of them prefer to maintain their anonymity.
So this is the reason why pickpockets come here.
Yes, I see. But then how can you know if an article belongs to the person asking to redeem it?
Oh, it's quite simple. Good, sir. Might I trouble you for the watchword associated with the article in question?
Of course, it's
It's a password, right?
Professor.
Yes, that's right. And all the evidence we need. This gentleman is the rightful owner of the article, without a doubt.
Watchword? Interesting. Yeah, password, basically. I wonder if... Yeah, I can actually check him. Excuse me, but who are you? Oh, whoa, whoops. History. One would expect the inquirer to introduce himself first. Though clearly you are not British, so perhaps our ways are foreign to you. Look for the cane. Oh, sorry. Yes, we're from the Empire of Japan. We're studying here. Oh, yes, Japan. I've heard talk of the place. I hate and love this guy. What, are you meaning like the third case in Ace Attorney 3? I mean the last case of Ace Attorney 3? Its inhabitants live on some fiery brown color soup dressed up in exotic spices. And again, I'm pretty sure that if even if you had something there, I would have to be able to access it. I am pretty sure that this kind of guy is not going to allow me to do this. He might be thinking of somewhere else. And what was that theatrical gesticulation about? Perhaps. Anyway, if you're a gentleman, sir, you offer your own name first, before inquiring after the name of another. Of course, yes, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a lawyer. Well, not yet, Maronini. I actually don't have it. You know, even though my name comes from there, I actually have never been such a good fan of King of Fighters, to be honest. I know the plot. I have investigated a lot of characters. I am very bad at it. You know that I'm much more better in anime-style fighting games, but King of Fighters is not that, so I struggle a lot. It's actually quite a complicated game, and very hard to get into it. As a Mexican, I feel like I failed, but well, what can I do? Of course, yes, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a lawyer. Well, a student of law, really.
My name is Sato Mikotoba. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's assistant.
I see. My name is Benedict. Yes, Edgar Benedict. I hate him. I hate his name. Enchunta. He's so refined in how he holds himself and now how he speaks, but that name is suspicious. Oh god, now you're talking about Elden Ring and I also don't have that one. I'm not really sure if my computer can handle that one. It's very heavy according to what I've seen. You know that Stalo has been playing it and streaming it as well. Although the game is so hard that he plans to, for example, grind a lot first before attempting it. On my side, I've never been a good fan of the Dark Souls series. I've been told, however, that Elden Ring is quite more light, just not so dark. Now that I think about it, it makes sense. It doesn't have the word dark in its name. Whatever. He's so refining how he holds himself and how he speaks, but that name is suspicious. It's basically name Benedict Egg. A Street Fighter game? What now? FS? FS. Oh, you mean from the Dark Souls series or something? Oh, from Software, the company, of course. Whoops. That's right. I kind of forgot the name of the company. Yeah, I have heard that it's very good. I have seen some of the reviews for it. It seems that a lot of people is playing it like completely blowing out of the water some multiplayer games, which actually hit a lot of game designers in the face, because a lot of the game designers' philosophy as of late is just that people don't want to play single player games, and that is pretty much just hitting in the face of that opinion. It's a good thing, to be honest. I actually like the fact that that is happening. It's very rare nowadays to see a good single player experience, or a game that doesn't try to force their players to play a multiplayer. I like playing co-op games and such, but I can see the appeal of playing a single player game from time to time. Like when I played all of the Zelda Breath of the Wild. You sure? I mean, it's to call it a game of the year right now, especially being in March, it's gonna be very hard for the game to be done. It happens, but it's very hard for them. But I have heard a lot of that. Yeah, that's the thing. It's just too early. Normally, games of the year. Well, this is more like what happens with public opinion. It's like once you're at the end of the year, pretty much the new games are the ones that are surprising everybody. And at that point, the honeymoon period for the games at the start of the year kind of has passed, and it's very difficult for them to get a Game of the Year award, even if they do deserve it. Forspoken, that looks It looks cool. Really? That is nice. I also have heard a lot about, a lot of people seem to be waiting for that new Final Fantasy Origins game. And, well, it's just that a lot of the way that gaming has evolved as of late has been very different from what I like. You know that I like fighting games, you know that I like adventures, you know that I like Ace Attorneys. And sometimes I even like Pokemon. But I'm not that good fan of shooters or very difficult dark games like Dark Souls. But I kind of enjoy them from time to time. And again, I just remember that one time that I ended up dropping completely Horizon Zero Dawn because it kind of got too brown. I know that sounds dumb, but that's pretty much how I am. I enjoy colorful, happy-go-lucky adventures. Or murder mysteries! You know, the happiest thing of them all! Okay. Now, we have Frozen here, and the game doesn't have music here, so let's keep going otherwise, because this is very creepy to be so silent. Now, to the mother at Hans. Oh my god! My overcoat returned at once. The song would style to carry it off. Every move he makes, every breath it takes. I can't stand watching him. Bye-bye. Okay, now let's keep going. I really needed to hear this too. He really is a JoJo's character, right? I really dislike him for some reason, but also like him. It's like, I love to hate him. So about these watch wars, Mr. Windibank?
As I explained, I never ask customers' name when they deposit items with me. There are many reasons why. Certain customers would like to keep their activities secret. Oh my god, what is he doing again?
That wasn't exactly a subtle glance at Mr. Shomlal, was it?
Great detectives have no dark secrets, none at all.
Yes, well, anyway. That's why I always ask for a watchword whenever I accept a new article. In many ways, it's like the secret combination of numbers used to unlock a vault. The date of deposit, a description, and a watchword uniquely identify each item. And of course, I give the storage to the same customer.
Character, charcoal. Can you explain to me what's the difference between character and charcoal in terms of the CH when you pronounce it as a Chihuahuense and when not? Well, pretty sure that I just mentioning it at loud pretty much just made it kinda obvious, but character is more like you use a K, and charcoal, well, to be honest, I'm pretty sure that that's how you pronounce it. I'm pretty sure that if I'm wrong, Ayadric is gonna chime in on that one. But charcoal is like Chihuahuense, I guess. I don't know why. There's actually something interesting about this game and a line that is spoken in the first game, in which one of the characters mocks Japanese for being weird, and she speaks English. And you know, English couldn't be weirder, even if it tried. That's the thing. You kinda need to know. Like Chicago and charcoal and choose. But then you have character and characteristic. And there's actually not something. There's actually not a simple answer to this. English can be weird because sometimes you have to know how it's pronounced, even though it's written the same way. Like, I'm pretty sure that you have seen the argument about that the, through, and everything else in between. Nah, it's okay. It's perfect. I normally don't have that many views, and having someone to interact with, it's very fun. When someone comes to redeem
Okay, there it is. Someone comes to redeem something and asks for the ticket and the watchword.
And if that someone tells you the correct watchword, you return the article?
That's right, sir. Yes, just as soon as the requisite fee is paid.
and I have supplied you with the information you require already. But for the Abundance of Tao, the article in question is an overcoat deposited 2 months ago on 15 February, on February 15th. Also, I just noticed that the name actually appeared now that I've spoken with him. With a watchword of Professor.
All perfectly correct information, sir.
But how?
Really, this is beyond a joke now. There is no further room for doubt.
He's lying, isn't he? It actually fits him perfectly. So let that be the end of the matter. And thank you for your custom, Mr. Edgar Benedict, sir.
With such reasonable rates of interest, I may even decide to come back.
This is why I hate grown-ups.
You ate him? With something on the side?
Just because I'm a diver and things that makes me a liar.
Well, in the first place.
On the contents of the coat pockets, if you please, Broken.
But of course, sir. Here's the dish for you.
Just this one?
Pardon me, sir?
I was expecting another.
Okay, take care. Have a lot of fun. Enjoy that game. Everybody's doing it right now. I'm not because I'm kind of a wimp. But everybody's doing it right now. Have fun. Take care. Thank you for coming. Really, you have no idea how fun this is to do. Bye-bye.
I was expecting another. That is, I deposited another. Another disc?
Oh dear. I regret to inform you, sir, that what deposited with me was merely the overcoat. This happened to be in Wano's pocket, but I was completely unaware of it until now. Hasta la próxima, and let's play some fighting games when we can. Because we have a lot to do. I can't just pick up King of Fighters just for fun, even if I don't play it. Bye-bye. This happened to be in one of the pockets, but I was completely unaware of it until now.
So, Gutherling, you're hiding more of what's rightfully mine, are you?
Says who, huh? I don't know nothing about it.
Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style.
Wait a minute, that desk! It's mine!
Whoa! What? What do you think you're doing, you little trump?
Oh, wow!
You've drawn blood, you filthy animal!
Oh, yes, there's blood on the disc! Because of all those sharp little bumps.
Mon must have scratched his finger on them.
Hey, found the Thursel Rat! I mean, it belonged to me, old man! So you're not having it? No, you take it! Me? If I hang on to it, I'll have it up. If I hang on to it, I'll have it up me again. So you keep hold of it. Miss Lestrade, is this thing so important to her?
Identified storing the disc by means of all small instruction.
You there, in the black livery. Hand that disc to me at once, please.
No, don't! He's lying! Grumps are all liars! What do we do now? We're going to resolve this.
Oh my god.
Look at Mr. Winterbanks watching diligently. Mr. Winterbank is clearly at a loss here. We have to do something about this before he reaches for that revolver of his. Oh right, he kills himself, that's right. Look at all the little bumps on the disc. They're so tiny.
Yes, the precision are called pins, and they plug the teeth of the comb to make notes. And just on the edge, there's a small amount of blood.
Yes, the blood of the mysterious Mr. Edgar Benedict.
When Miss Lestrade tried to grab the disc from him, the prince scratched his fingers, it seemed. And when you're grabbing some daikon rich and nuts in to catch your finger,
Oh god, I'll just think about it hurts. It puts me off eating radish. This is actually what I needed. Oh my god!
oh, there's a little scrap of paper stuck on the reverse side of the disc. Look! And a scribbled word or two. It looked like somebody's name.
It says for McGilded.
Or McGilded.
McGilded? It couldn't be!
But it is Mr. Naruhodo, and I shall never forget, for as long as I live.
Why? What's his name on this? The reverse side of a note that reads for Mr. McGilded. Look at those piercing eyes, he's clearly in no mood to talk. We have to do something quickly before this mysterious gentleman leaves to fetch the police or something. Wow, Miss Lestrade is really looking daggers at that mysterious gentleman. We need to do something to calm things down before she loses control and attacks him again. Oh, of course. Mr. Sholmes? What are you examining with such keen interest there? As you enjoy a bar of caramel, I see. Oh boy. So, you found me at last, Mr. Naruto. Sorry? After that young pickpocket slipped on my way, I was forced to lurk in the shadows. You were so exposed, it's not even funny! Cruelly ostracized as the rest of you partook in the Chupel atmosphere of fellowship. I had nothing to occupy my mind, but was too ashamed to let society see what my downfall had done to me. So, feigning mock interest, I pretended to examine the tedious trinkets in the desolate place. Well, as you strictly observe, running on the only friend I have left, this 7% solution of caramel. Pray! Did you claim to understand the depths of my despair, Mr. Naruto? But how could you? I was so lonely, so desperate, so lonely. Then why not didn't you rejoin the conversation? Make us go from bad to worse here, you know? Yes, I overheard much of your conversation. Or rather, in my craving for human contact, my ears devoured every word that was uttered. You really were sad, weren't you?
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, I feel simply awful for you.
It would seem that my inferences are correct.
Oh? So surely you're not about to tell us that you solved the entire case once again.
My dear madam, sometimes I wonder, were my genius for deduction to be commoditized? How much could I pawn it for? It seems Mr. Sholmes has had another of his flashes of inspiration. But who knows if it will help to resolve the situation between Miss Lestrade and the mysterious gentleman? What's the right thing to do here? Well, Miss Lestrade, it will better you find yourself in something of a predicament.
Where the play of blazes have you been, huh?
Pardon?
When a lady's in trouble, a true gent's supposed to be here to help. Straight away. No, later.
Harsh. And who, pray tell, are you? Mr. Edgar Benedict, you have in my eyes a veritable encyclopedic array of curiosity about your person. Nevertheless, there are two immovable conclusions I have drawn. I beg your pardon? The first is this. The true reason for your visit to this pawnbroker today is something you have not yet revealed. And the second is this. A considerable crime is in contemplation, and you will orchestrate with intent to steal a vast sum of money. Well, Mr. Benedict, what say you to my deduction?
How?
He's turned as white as a hard-boiled egg! Oh! Oops.
It would seem that once again, Mr. Shaw has made a flawless deduction.
Just who do you think you are, sir? Ah, yes, as I hoped. That is precisely the pained expression I was looking for. So, shall we begin? The time has come for yet another Sherlock Holmes Logic and Reasoning Spectacular! The Great Deduction! The game is afoot! First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you've entered to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having had the redemption ticket stolen from you on the street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. As revealed by that which you hold in your hand. Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place is the staff recruitment flyer. Oh god. The piece of paper in your hand is a staff-wanted advertisement from this very shop. Yet even the most unobservant would soon realize that a man of your opinions has no need of such employee. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane which you... Were you trying to give me a hint, Manini? The cane which you unwittingly goes to repression, it's even an incontrovertibly contradiction.
What other wrath? I've had this cane for years.
The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the missing ferrule. The name. The infinite walking cane would be terminated with a metal ferrule to protect the wooden key. And yet detailed analysis show the wooden tip of this stick to be utterly fair. AG. Therefore, there is only one conclusion. The rod that you hold into your hand, which appears to be a walking cane, is in fact no cane at all. You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? And in your recoiling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this structure there? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. From the moment I saw it, my suspicions were aroused. What walking cane demands just a styled handle, mused I. But of course, as I say, it's no walking cane. No, that's wrong. It's a broken handle of a shovel. Oh my god.
What? Are you insane?
And now, having determined this undeniable truth, the conclusion is clear. Your true motive for coming here was to take employment at this establishment in order to excavate the ground beneath the premises. What a calculated crime you have conceived, sir. We call it the calculated crime.
The tunnel underneath the pawnbrokery.
Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in the plan.
This is utterly absurd.
You suggest that I, a gentleman, intend to excavate the ground beneath this pawnbrokery with a broken shovel? What on earth do you propose?
I could expect to find there.
Some long-forgotten treasure, perhaps, I suppose.
There it is. That is the one that I was using. I kinda mixed them up.
Say, for such a fanciful theory, what possible reason could it have to do as you say?
Oh, but there's an apple reason. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict.
Ah, and your 40th class is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider what would motivate a man to infiltrate a shop such as this and cover the dig beneath its floor.
The answer is revealed by the concealed notice on the counter which your eyes were inadvertently. The answer is revealed by the concealed notice on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn.
There it is.
This letter gives notice of public works to be carried out in the local area. And according to the enclosed plan of the incoming sewage works, beneath these shops run a sewer that adjoins another, one that runs under the bank on the opposite side of the road.
Oh, I seem to remember some kind of story from homes like this.
This madness has entered the sewers now, has it?
No one. This madness has entered the sewers now, has it? There it is.
By excavating the ground beneath your feet, you would gain access to the waterway that flows in the very close proximity to the great wall of the financial institution opposite.
What are you?
In summary, sir, we devised a master plan to pull off an elaborate bank robbery by the of the underground tunnels.
Master plan?
Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. With what plunder did the thief hope to take off from the underground vault of the bank?
Are you quite serious?
Having consulted with Scotland Yard some days ago, I happen to know the answer. But naturally, the answer is no secret to you, is it, Mr. Benedict?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know.
A postcard of the Great Exhibition. I'm afraid you quite lost me.
Currently in the final stages of preparation, the Great Exhibition will soon be underway. And the government has provided extra funds to complete its centerpiece, the Crystal Tower. Funds that currently sit in the vault of the bank, on the other side of this road.
Pardon?
Yes, the conceivable crime you have been contemplating is the theft of that which is in the vault of the bank, the special reserve funds for the Great Exhibition. Of course, that is top secret police information, so keep it in your heart, please! This concludes Herlock Show's great edition of this bomb-breaking puzzle.
Assumption! Actually, do this like this. Amazing!
Chance. Well, Mr. Neruda? An impressively upbeat deduction for a detective racked with loneliness, would you not agree? Was it true what you said about the bank over the road and what it has in its vault? Indeed, though few know of its existence, it is one of the government's most closely guarded secrets. Gregson told me in the strictest confidence. But she just announced it to everyone here. Rather loudly, in fact.
Oh! If it's such a big secret, how would Mr. Benedict come to find out about it?
There can be but one explanation for that. Clearly it is because the man is a criminal. But what if he didn't know anything about the money in the vault? If he's a criminal as you said, then buying a brand new shovel is sure to be the first thing he does now that you've revealed the secret.
Oh! Or if he doesn't, maybe Mr. Windibank will. He already has plenty of shovels here after all.
Oh my life, I sure am not so scrupulous.
Unscrupulous.
Well, hopefully this has taught you a valuable lesson. Sensitive information must be handled with the utmost of care.
Oh my god. One can never be sure that someone privy to secrets won't disclose them, and once the word is out, it's out. Perhaps I'll think twice before confiding in you next, in you next time, Mr. Jones. An excellent idea, Mr. Naruto. An excellent idea!
Well then, Mr. Naruto, you know what to do, I'm sure.
Yes, let's listen to that great detection again and see if we can message it into shape. Very well then, let's start once more from the beginning. Yay! A Paradox shows magnificent logic and reasoning spectacular. Whoop! Course correction, hold it, Mr. Jones. Here's a follow, we must ask ourselves about business, blah 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 blah. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, haven't had the redemption thing from your street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. As revealed by that which you hold in your hand. Yes, that was your shop, the staff recruitment flyer.
So by Mr. Jones' reasoning,
Mr. Benedict came here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down through the floor.
yes, in an attempt to tunnel into the sewers to gain access to the money in the vault of the bank across the road. But he wouldn't get very far with a broken shovel, would he?
No, I think it's fair to say his motive lies elsewhere. The question is where? What did bring Mr. Benedict here on this particular point in time? Stylish head. That silk top hat is wider than wide. Only an English gentleman could hope to carry off something so bright.
But it looks so incongruous with a black overcoat, don't you think?
Perhaps it's the latest London fashion. I mean, that's just guesswork, of course.
How about it, Mr. Naruto? Ain't you look very fetching in a white top hat?
Well, you know, I think I might look rather incongruous with my Block University uniform, so... This is still very hard to move around. I had forgotten about it. Okay. There.
It certainly is a flyer for Mr. Windibank's shop.
Let's see. Windibank wants you! Pawnbroker's assistant required. It's an eye-catching advertisement, that's for sure.
I've seen the same flyer up here inside the shop, I think. Perhaps Mr. Windibank is always in need for more staff. So Mr. Benedict came here to apply for a job? That's just too hard to believe.
That's a proper English gentleman's cane, isn't it? Look at the beautifully polished brass on the handle.
Yes, but Mr. Shops is right. It's not the sort of handle you usually see on a cane.
Perhaps it's the latest London fashion. I mean, that's just guesswork, of course.
Perhaps you could add that cane, Mr. Naruto? It might rather suit you.
What feeling like arg with the sword around my waist? And yes, I saw it.
Oh! Look at all the scribble notes on the back of the flyer here.
Don't believe it!
What is it?
Listen to what it says. Name, Gina Lestrade. Height, 5'2". What? Green caps, graphic waistcoat, graphic white shirt, blue satchel, backed. It's a detailed description of Miss Lestrade.
Goodness!
There's even a sketch of her, hat and all! Although if you show it to her, it fired a small grenade launcher on his face for sure.
And look, the details of the shop have been written down here too. Windibank Pawnbrokery, Baker Street. Redemption deadline 15 April.
Oh wow! Which is today's date!
Why will Mr. Bennett have all that information scrolled on the back of that piece of paper?
Info about Miss Lestrade. Suspicious writing on the back of a suspicious flyer in the hands of a suspicious gentleman.
I didn't think there was anything suspicious about the flyer, Mr. Naruto. But yes, Miss Lestrade's name and height and a description of the clothes she's wearing.
Not to mention the sketch of her likeness, which I'm fairly sure she wouldn't take lightly. And today's date too.
We can't let this go, can we? It's far too suspicious.
Yep.
Take that!
Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow. It would appear that the writing and sketch of the repairs of the flyer pertain to the pickpocket Miss Lestrade and to Mr. Windybank's pawnbroker here. You originally told us that you had merely given chase after Miss Lestrade stole the redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. It is information on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean here to Windybank's pawnbrokery, and today the redemption deadline of that overcoat. So you waited outside for the young girl matching the description you have written down to arrive. And you have gone to some lengths to hide the reason for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there's some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane which you unwittingly clutched to your person is even an incontrovertible contradiction.
What other rod? I had this game.
What other rod? I had this game for years. The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the missing ferrule.
Yeah, this is quite interesting.
What's a ferrule?
It's the metal cap commonly found on the end of a cane, Mr. Naruhodo.
Ah, that bit that makes the nice clanking sound on the pavement?
Yes, exactly. And Mr. Sholmes is right. It appears to be missing on this cane.
But it doesn't actually look broken, does it?
No, it doesn't.
But the gentleman certainly did recall when Mr. Sholmes identified the canes as suspicious. In other words, there's some secret about the cane that Mr. Benedict would rather we don't know.
Stylish guy again.
As stylish as it no doubt is, I don't think this white top hat suits a man, do you?
No, not at all.
The more I look at it, the more something strikes me suspicious about it.
I think perhaps it's not so much that it strikes you suspicious, but rather than the hat itself is just striking.
I suppose you're probably right, perhaps the hat isn't what we're looking for. When they say it about this. The end of this cane is just bare wood.
Yes, and according to Mr. Sholmes' deduction,
This is where the shovel blade would have been attached. Couldn't it just be the tape that fell off?
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I couldn't possibly speculate.
There it is. Look here, Mrs. Sato. There are some letters on the handle.
Ah, yes, those must be initials, I think. In the West, it's customary for people to engrave their belongings with the first letter of their names.
So Harold Sholmes would be HS, you mean?
High school.
That's right! And the initials on this can obviously... Oh.
H. But does it feel as though that's not quite right?
This is not.
The contradiction of which I speak is of course the initialing. A most astute observation, would you say, Mr. Edgar Benedict? We are led to believe, sir, that your initials are EB. Yet in no specific manner, you have in your craft a cane bearing the initials AG. Controversial contradiction indeed. Would you not agree?
No, you're wrong. The cane isn't.
You said before that you had that cane for years. So don't try to tell us that you just borrowed it from a friend or found it in the park. In short, though you hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true name. You recall, sir, is something wrong? And in your recalling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present us. Namely, what is the truth behind this rock you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle which you evidently would like to conceal is the key to understanding this riddle. Just it's not the handle. Let's consider the bare bones of what's happened here. Miss Lestrade redeemed that fine-looking overcoat. And now a mysterious man has appeared, introducing himself with a fake name and claiming that the overcoat belongs to him. But we know that he actually identified Miss Lestrade from a written description. Which suggests that everything else he's told us is untrue. So what we need to do here is somehow prove that the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him. Looking closer at this hat for some time now, it certainly occurred to me that a bright white top hat like that might be just the hat for me. You like it, don't you? I think I do, don't I? Well, in that case, you could see if there was something similar among the men. In that case, you could see if there isn't something similar among. This is so hard to read. Well, in that case, you could see if there isn't something similar among Mr. Windybag's forfeited items. Why is it so hard to read? After we concluded our investigation, we must focus on the task in hand at the moment.
I was pulled out.
It is a rather strange handle for sure. Yes, certainly unusual for a gentleman's cane. You expect to see such a cane being twirled charmingly by its owner as he skips merrily down the street. Why is it so hard to read this? You do? Ah, something has just occurred to me. Have a shovel back in our office, don't we? Yes, you're right, and its handle is exactly the same shape as his cane's. Here we go. Now I'm starting to wonder if it's not actually a cane at all, but a spade. Mr. Shum's deductions are curiously compelling, aren't they? This is not yours. You just broke it. Oh, the seam in the shoulder theory is coming apart, look. So it is. You know, a moment ago when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, I thought I heard him make a rather strange noise. It sounded a bit like a tiny growl. Now I think it was probably the sound of the seam ripping open. If you look closely, it does seem to be a very tight fit. It's not his. The sleeves are stretched, bursting, and he wouldn't have a hope of fastening it at the front. Were to run around in it, I'm sure the whole thing would fall apart. That I'd like to see. Sorry? How can we make it Mr. Benedict? So how can we make Mr. Benedict run around? She's really giving this some thought! Okay.
Take that!
The split seam which you evidently would like to conceal is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Oh. Yes, because the overcoat is rather obviously a poor fit. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset. When you so badly lied about your name and so boldly wail down this pickpocket. This catalog of untruths has all been for one very specific purpose. To steal the article that the young girl redeemed from the Mr. Windbag. But what really irks me is this. The considerable crime I initially imagined has been considerably curtailed. To abscond with a redeemed item. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in plan.
This is utterly absurd.
This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, design a wheeze to fill some totally article of punish.
Oh my god. You're so hard to read.
Have you forgotten that I redeemed the article in the proper manner, using the watchword? Had I not been the one to deposit in the first place, how could I possibly have known the relevant detail, n'est-ce pas? N'est-ce pas? Oh, but the watchword can be discovered, as you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. Ah, and your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped.
Wow, this is the first time that it actually has changed this much. What?
Let us consider how one might come to learn a secret watchword relating to the pawn property of another. The method is revealed by the concealed notice on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn.
The direction of the deduction must change rather dramatically now, I think.
Yes, no more talk of tunneling into the sewers.
Which is a pity, because it all sounded rather exciting. Anyway,
You can deny that this mysterious gentleman didn't know the watchword.
yes, Professor. If you didn't know that word, Mr. Winterbank would never allow you to redeem the article.
Or looking at it another way, if you did know that word, Mr. Winterbank would allow you to redeem the article whether it was yours or not. So the question is, could this gentleman have found the watchword out somehow? Baker Street Works is the title. Yes, and it does mention Sewer's Works, as Mr. Shum said. Oh, and specifically mentions that tonight's sale at the confectionery shop in the corner won't be affected.
Yes, I'll win first, confectionery later, Mr. Naruhodo.
Of course, my overly expressive face. Old lamp. This looks to be quite an old lamp.
But it's obviously being well looked after, and there's soul in it too.
In other words, it is still in use.
Yes, it would appear so. But as for how it could be related to Mr. Benedict knowing the watchword for the pawn article, I have no idea.
That makes two of us. I'm pretty sure that is not the revolver. This is Mr. Winterbank's gun.
Yes, loaded with only one bullet, he said. It appears that being a pawnbroker is a very life or death profession.
That might be just this particular establishment. Look at this, Mr. Sato.
Ah, it appears to be a memo that Mr. Winterbank has scribbled to himself.
Let's see. What does it say? Oh, Professor! Mr. Winterbank is not that smart, I can see. Mr. Winterbank must make a note of the watchwords his customers give him right before their eyes. And an alarmingly clear script as well.
Oh, here I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see?
Take that!
The method is revealed by the note light on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. Yes, the broker here follows the same procedure whenever a customer comes to redeem an article. He asks the customer for the watchword and notes down the response order in a notelet he has to obtain. Then he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches that of the article in question. I would expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker. But his diligence clearly has its disadvantages. What are you talking about? It is increasingly apparent that you were present in this shop before your accusation against Mrs. Strapp. In all likelihood, you follow her inside, and I'll save her talking to Mr. Winterbank. When the diligent broker made a note of the watchword, as is common practice, you observed him writing the word Professor on the notelet beside the ledger. And that, sir, was the master plan you devised to steal the pawn article from the young Miss Lestrade.
Master plan?
Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. Why would you go to such lengths to redeem that particular article from this poor broker?
Are you quite serious?
For an ill-fitting uppercut hardly seems to justify the effort, much less a worthless music box. But naturally, you had very good reason to make them yours, didn't you, Mr. Benedict?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. The articles we're talking about are the overcoat and the music box disc, one of the pockets. Which according to Mr. Windypunk isn't even worth a penny. Yet this man went to such lengths to steal them. Why? I wonder if perhaps we already have the evidence we need to explain it, Mr. Naruhodo. But we really better have a thorough look through all the evidence we collected so far.
Take that!
I mean, it's not that hard to know.
You see, this music box disc tells us all we need to know.
What's that on the back?
It reads for Mr. McGilden. We're coming back to him now. This is very uncomfortable, but here we go. Ah, Mr. Magnus McGilden, the unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago. A prominent man in London, through his loan mongering, demonstrating a distinct lack of scruple. So, you're an associate of his, aren't you? Or perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGilden was a man of initially small stature. In fact, he was precisely the right size for that overcoat that you've squeezed yourself into. Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Edgar Benedict. But the final conclusion here is crystal clear. The reason you came to this pawnbroker today was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Mr. Magnus McGilden. To acquire an item deposited by Mr. McGilden. He's back in the picture. Why? Well, Mr. Magnus McGilden. Not a name I expected to hear in these circumstances. Mr. Sholmes! I'm afraid there's something very troubling in my mind. Retail, Mr. Sato? Well, according to what Mr. Windybank told us earlier, today was the final day on which the code could have been redeemed, was it not?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Today will be precisely 2 months since it was first deposited.
Well, today is the 15th April, so 2 months ago to what the fuck? Adventure, the runaway. Okay, no. I'm kind of correct. This is creepy as heck. 2 months ago was the stabbing in the car.
Would have been 15 February, sir. That's right. It's all carefully recorded in my ledger. Deposited at 10:30 p.m. I say. The stabbing was at 10.
Wait. The stabbing was at 10. What?
But that suggests... Yes, 15 February is precisely the day on which the omnibus murder took place. And 10:30 in the evening is precisely the time at which the terrible events were unfolding.
Suggestive is not the word. It would seem the matter is entirely beyond coincidence. What are you doing here? What's this? You are of course at liberty to make whatever outlandish deductions you choose, however. Oh, whoa! I must insist you hand over the music box disc, now! It would be a terrible shame for you to return to your native land in a box. There are some things a man must protect at all costs. This may well be one of those things. It might not.
Hold it!
Mr. Windybank!
This is my shop! I can't allow any harm to come to my customers! If that were to happen, I should have to take my own life!
Mr. Windybank, no! Alright, that's enough!
Alright, that's enough!
Inspector Gregson! Inspector?
That's right, Sunshine. That I was raised on one of our dedicated emergency lines. So we got here as fast as we could. Now, what's all this about, eh? Oh, praise be, you're here at last! I was moments away from forfeiting my own life in my very own establishment.
It would seem you have the upper hand.
Right, you lot got out some explaining to do. I don't appreciate being bothered with some petty argy-bargy.
Eddie! Mr. Windybank very nearly met with his end!
Yeah, but he's all gone as far as I can tell. Oh dear. And the whole lot of fitting could meet with and if I don't get to the bottom of the case I'm supposed to be working on.
What? What on earth is this case, Inspector? Oh my god! I have been waiting for this. Interaction between Sholmes and Gregson. Further details, Gregson.
I have said a little too much. No matter, it's nothing to do with you lot. Anyway, sir, you're gonna have to come with me down to the station.
But of course, Inspector.
Ah! It's getting away! Get up there, mere last whistle a bit, officer, too! Sir!
He ran away? Really?
There's been a spate of thefts at pawn shops around here recently. So we feared that emergency buttons underneath the counters were broken, so let us know that when there's trouble. Oh, Inspector, I was very worried there for a while. Very worried indeed. Now then, Mr. Permanently in mourning.
Oh, yes?
I'll be taking that, whatever it is, of Miss Matilda down to the jar. Thank you very much. So hand it over.
Oh, yes, of course.
No, don't! Don't give it to him! It's mine! That is mine!
I'm sorry, miss.
Anything belonging to Matilda has to be taken in as evidence now. As evidence? If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. I think about it, there's no DNA test here, so we don't know who this guy is. And so we handed Mr. McGilder's this over to Inspector Gregson, who summarily turned out of the shop and into the street. Whoa! That was very cool indeed. Really wanna keep going. Feels like I didn't get anything done. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going. It's a good thing that I haven't got a lot of, well, I was gonna say female voices, but it was more to say Irish voice.
See, that's why I ate grown-ups. All they do is feed you a bag of lies and take stuff away from you.
Oh, really, Miss Lestrade? Tell me, is that overcoat keeping you warm?
What? Oh my! You were keeping that! Yeah, the deal let me keep it. After I looked daggers at him for long enough, he went through the pockets and then said, "Go on then, have it," before telling me to scrap it. Always piss off. Giving people a look like you ate them. I can't help feeling that it's going to get you into some.
Oh, this is actually Ryunosuke. I can't help feeling like it's going to get you into some serious trouble one day.
What I really wanted was that nice shiny test mind. The music box disc? But Mr. Winterbank said it was practically worthless. I think I'm gonna go and have another bash. Give it a long hard stare.
I think not, Mr. Lestrade. We should enter with the banks again today.
Why not? That's not fair!
It can't be helped, I'm afraid. The police are here investigating the scene now and taking a statement from Mr. Winterbank.
But the thing's mine! I had a ticket for this coat and it was in the coat's pocket. And there should be something else in it. That's what Providence Cove said, ain't it?
Yes, he did mention something about another article, didn't he?
Well then, that's mine too, whatever it is.
Now she's really pushing her luck.
Miss Lestrade, I think it's time to admit defeat.
You had your haul for the day.
Yeah, and it's all your fault, Sholmes.
So what are your plans now? Will you dine with us this evening? Iris would be delighted to cook, I'm sure. And I might entertain you with a modest pile in Bristol.
Nota. Oh. Why would I come round to your place, huh? Have you lost your head or something? Have you lost your head or something? Oh dear, she's gone.
Having a pile on me quite unnecessary, might I? I can't help but wondering. Perhaps she might turn up anyway. Interesting. She's had a chance to calm down. I think there's a good chance she'll decide to come. Very well then. I'll inform Iris to set up a place for a potential guest at the dinner table this evening. And one more thing. I shall be glad of your company later too. Sorry? I believe I will have a rather splendid surprise to show you.
Oh, how exciting! What is it?
You shall have to wait and see, Mr. Sam. Until later then. They say until later, but I mean, where else are we gonna go? What to do? There it is.
Can it really be that we've been in Great Britain for 2 months already?
Yes, it's gone by in a flash, hasn't it?
And what an English gentleman, you've...
You trail of there, Susato-san.
I'm so sorry, when I thought it through, I realized it's not all true, actually. I simply don't feel that any Britishness had really rubbed off on you.
Nor you, to be honest.
Well, that's obviously because...
Yes, I know. Without a doubt, it's your kimono. It most certainly stands out.
I do adore the attire of English ladies. It's quite delightful.
But somehow
I just don't feel ready to handle my Japanese dress just yet.
I wonder how Susato-san would look in Western clothes. That would be interesting to see. Oh yeah, it's the same style. Got it. I didn't check this. We were rather lucky to find that old aquarium left behind here. The prawns we put in there are doing rather well. And the anemones too. Anemones.
It's a wonderful invention, isn't it? You say behind glass inside your room. Another example of great Britain's greatness.
Having to clean it out and change the water isn't so great though, is it? I didn't know that they had an aquarium. I kind of forgot about that. Or more like I forgot, more like I missed it. It's very surprising. I normally check this stuff to the brim. Okay. They can check while Scotland Yard is investigating. So let's see. The suite. April 15. 3:46 p.m.
Oh, Susie and Runa, come in! Oh my god! I counted my blessings just before they actually got destroyed.
Good afternoon, Iris.
Thank you so much for breakfast this morning. Oh, don't mention it! Goodness, look at the time already.
You busy as always?
I am preparing everything for dinner this evening.
Already? You're obviously cooking something special, are you?
Oh yes, after all, we have special guests joining us. Guess who it is? Go on, you'll never guess.
Look at those little eyes of her shining. Oh, just I wanted to check if we have her in the inventory. Susato? Sholmes? Iris? Pop Windybank. Oh my god, Pop. I have the feeling that he's gonna die. And I'm scared for that. A young pickpocket who we first met 2 days ago. She and Iris have become fair friends since. Tobias Gregson, the detective inspector in charge of Scotland Yard's investigation case, is stern and single-minded in his approach, and a grave lover of fish and chips. This guy. Hey.
Oh dear. It's awkward when you already know the answer, isn't it? It's Ginny! Isn't that exciting? Oh, what a surprise! Yes, that's wonderful news.
Wow, Iris seems overjoyed at the idea.
I can't wait to learn some pickpocketing tips from a real professional.
Oh yes, that sounds... Wait, what?
I'm not sure that's entirely appropriate, are you, Mr. Naruhodo?
By the way, Iris, what's Mr. Sholmes up to?
Early? Oh, he's been like that ever since he got back.
Hello, Mr. Sholmes! Beg that you won't speak to me. Sorry? I don't know who you are, but kinda take off your leave. As you can see, I'm not here. I don't know how to respond to that.
I do apologize. When he gets like this, he's completely oblivious to everything.
Yes, I see.
Really, he behaves just like a child sometimes. Harley does. Mr. Sholmes and Iris have something of a parent and child relationship, don't they? Which is hilarious because this is backwards.
Yes, except that Iris is clearly the parent here. Come to think of it, I wonder where her real parents are.
What's the matter, Rena? You have ever such a funny look on your face.
Oh, no, it's nothing.
I know what it is. Why does this girl live here with Mr. Sholmes, you're wondering? Am I right?
How did you?
Oh, Rena, I can read you like a book.
This girl is dangerous.
Don't worry, you can ask me anything. I won't mind.
Okay. Go destroyed. So there it is. Now this really is Mr. Sholmes' faithful performing partner then. The Strapidar. The Strapiscar. The Strapisferius? No, it's not good, it's gone. The Virtuosus villain that he found in the pawnbrokers and managed to buy for next to nothing.
After all we went through to get it back, he's just cast it aside on the chair. I was looking forward to hearing the beautiful sound it makes when Mr. Jones plays it.
It does look rather sorry for itself there, doesn't it? Although, at least Wagahai hasn't attacked it yet. Even if its eyes are saying it's only a matter of time. Oh, Wagahai, where is Wagahai? So, Mr. Sholmes, what are you so engrossed in? Did you not hear? I'm not here! Of course you're not. Cannot think why the whole bed of the ocean is not one solid of oysters, so prolific as you should see. He won't even turn around and look at me.
It's best just to leave him alone when he's in one of his moods like this.
Yes, I can see that. Anything head change over here? No. Okay. Jean. So by Jeannie you mean Miss Lestrade, the young woman from the Matilda case 2 months ago, right?
Yes, who stole my sperm and smoke grenade lunch. Although after that trial I invited her back here and we had dinner together. And now we're the best of friends. Oh, what a lovely tale. Yes, now if we bump into her in the street, she runs away as fast as she can. Oh. And I chase after her down the back alleys.
Interesting idea of friendship.
And then I let her have the latest color of a smoke grenade of the... Oh. There are so many beautiful colors in the world. She wants me to make a whole rainbow.
I suppose this means... You've let Miss Lestrade keep the smoke grenade launcher, have you? I mean, you saw them all a moment ago.
Yes, that's right. I got bored of it anyway. Hurley always reacts the same way when I shoot him with it now.
Poor Hurley.
Oh, I can't wait for Jeannie to arrive. It's been too long since she last came over. I'm so excited!
I just hope she does actually come.
I'm sure you've been wondering why is it that I live here with Hurley, haven't you?
Well, it has crossed my mind. I don't know where are your real parents. Oh. Oh, wow.
My mommy and daddy aren't with me anymore. Mommy passed away when I was born. And at around the same time my father... Well, he had to go to a faraway land because of one of the cases he and Hurley were working.
Oh. Wait a minute. Did you say he and Hurley?
Yes. Daddy and Hurley were always solving mysterious cases together.
Didn't mention that before.
He wrote developing his theories. That's what's in the metal chest over there.
Really? He recorded them all?
So you mean it's true? Mr. Jones really did have a partner with whom he tackled some of his most taxing cases. Oh yes, I mean it's always nice to have one, isn't it?
So Mr. Jones' partner was your father?
Exactly. Hurley told me I wasn't allowed to look in the chest. But that only made me want to look even more. So I opened it up and found your father's memoirs. Yes, I asked Hurley. Who wrote this? He nearly fell off his chair. But then he told me that's when I found out that the author of all those accounts was my father.
So Iris' father was Mr. Jones' partner. I can see where this is going.
I practically lived with Hurley all my life. I was tiny when he took me in. So, it came as quite a shock. When Hurley told me he wasn't really my daddy, I mean.
It must have done.
I wonder why Mr. Jones chose to tell you, and at such a young age. he says it's because he wouldn't have been able to hide it from me.
Oh?
Well, I've been living with Hurley all these years. You might say that his ways have rubbed off on me. There are some things I can just see. Especially lies. I almost know when people are lying before they open their mouths sometimes.
Right.
Anyway, I was so fascinated when I read Daddy's diaries. That's what inspired me to write The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, actually. I'd always assumed Mr. Sholmes simply told you all those thrilling stories. Oh no, Hurley's hopeless like that. He forgets everything. As soon as he solves a case, it all but vanishes from his mind. Oh, I see. The other day it was so embarrassing. As usual, he totally forgot about the case he just solved. But the very next day, he gathered together all the people involved and proceeded to solve the case again. It was quite a shock for everyone. Oh my god, this is a hilarity.
You can say that again.
You share your father's surname, don't you, Iris? That's right, Wilson! That is Dr. John H. Wilson! I hated that this was gonna come out.
I don't want to bring it to her. I don't want to bring it to her. This is too cruel. I know now where this was going.
I learned from his diary that he's a doctor of medicine, you see. That's what prompted me to study and study so that I could earn a doctorate as well.
Father who went to some distant land. Is a doctor by the name of John H. Wilson? All will know here the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kindly state before the court the name of the victim in this case. The victim's name was Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right. Visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Jumei University. And the man who in the most bizarre of circumstances lost his life just before we left Japan. Susato.
Yes.
Perhaps we shouldn't pursue this conversation any further at this time.
I think that will be for the best.
Ah, my dear fellows. How good to see you.
Mr. Sholmes!
Why ever did you not make your presence known to me before? Well, no matter now. So, how did the bill act you? We've been with you for the most of the day. Goodness, really?
You tell me, Mr. Sholmes, is your violin unscathed?
My violin? Whatever you're talking about, dear madam?
Oh,
Never mind that now. I have something far more interesting to show you. Behold, my dear fellows. Oh my god.
oh, another music book disc.
No, not another disc, Mr. Sato. This is the one Gregson demanded we hand over as evidence. Mr. McKill's disc. Why? Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh my!
Then what's it doing here? You know, at times, Mr. Naruto, I think that though I have an undeniable term for detection. I may well be more adept at larceny, Senor. I was so shocked that I said it in my normal tongue. He stole it.
Oh, that would be wonderful, exciting! I'll be your backpacking assistant.
Oh my god.
And Runa could be your go-to lawyer if we ever got caught.
Right.
Plus, Susie has such a beautiful handwriting. She could write all our medicine crime notifications.
Oh my god, they wanna be phantom tips.
Yes, I'd be delighted.
Come on, girl! I'm just going to pretend this conversation never happened, I think. Dear Lord Sholmes! there, Mr. Naruhodo? Unofficially, maybe I'm nevertheless a professional. I couldn't examine such a humdrum item for anything less than £5. Oh, no, my dear fellow, blah, 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 £5. When? I don't understand. How did that disc come to be in your possession? I thought Inspector Gregson took it back to Scotland Yard. Am I correct? That sort of compromising attitude is precisely why I always carry some of these. That's a bar of caramel, Mr. Sholmes. Your one and only friend at time of loneliness, if I'm not mistaken. If you will humor me, my dear fellows, let's join my inspector when the good detective confiscated disc. No.
Thinking that whatever it is, I've my guild down to y'all. Thank you very much, so hand it over.
He didn't know it was a disc. So he gave him the chocolate. For the briefest of moments, I had the disc in my hand. Did I not? Yes, you did. But I still don't understand. It was at precisely that moment that I summoned my one and only friend into action. Press the disc into a pair of bars. Like this. That's amazing! The disc and all the minuscule protections have made an animation on the car. Indeed, this camera is quite exceptional. I developed it myself, you know. Literally soft for making impression, resistant to melting, but have a precisely controlled solution. So this is not the actual disc. He just remade the disc. How extraordinary! Carrying a pair of these on one's person frequently proves very useful indeed. Like a house key, for example. Simple press and its unique form is duplicated. It can enter anyone's property at will, never without high and never without high sucrose nourishment. Yes, it sounds illegal. For the Amish, I was able to create this. I confess that I was mostly curious to know what manner of music would issue from the disc when played. Tell us, Mr. Sholmes, what music does the disc play? Well, unfortunately, I have no idea. No idea? None whatsoever. Are you familiar with the workings of a music box, my dear fellows? No, I'm afraid not. Goodness, you don't know, Runa? Tell music, but there's a special metal piece called a comp. That's what pronounces the sound. That is familiar. And this gives me an idea. Be right back. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you something. Mute the gato. This. So basically, what they're explaining over here is pretty much how a music box works. And I happen to have one over here. You see, this was a gift from me from one of my dearest friends. And as you can see, what they're describing is pretty much the one that I have over here. I cannot believe that this actually was useful for me in a way. So basically... Oh boy, I actually didn't transition correctly. Okay, but let's just do it for a second, just so that I can show you. Basically, the music box that I have here is actually from Kingdom Hearts. and it plays Dearly Beloved. And what they're showing is pretty much the comb that is right here. I think. Oh, wow. There. Oh, not on this angle. I have to be careful because this is, of course, quite fragile. But you can see over here that there's this little comb over here. And once every single time of this little thing passes by one, it plays as if it's a guitar, I guess. Okay, let's spin it fast so that it says let's start. And also so you can hear it. Well, let's go back into the action.
Inside a music box, there's a special metal piece called a comb. That's what produces the sound. Small protuberances block the different tip of the comb as they rotate past it, making the different notes. The first music boxes to be invented used a rotating cylinder with protuberances on it.
Oh, like the one I have.
But over time, a new type of player was produced, which uses discs such as these.
At developing, the popularity of music boxes spread far and wide, all around the globe. I still like mine more.
Why exactly?
Because the discs are easy to produce and can be interchanged to facilitate the playing of music in different tunes. Oh, that makes sense. There are a great many firms in Europe now manufacturing these music boxes as a result.
It is wonderful to be able to enjoy music even when no performer is present.
But it is the very success of the invention that means we are now presented with an insurmountable problem. What do you mean?
As you may imagine,
the construction of one firm's music box does not match that of another. I have no way of knowing in which music box this particular disc was designed to be played. No resolution to this problem, I'm afraid. It is quite intractable.
Ah, I see. So that's why.
Naturally, I tested the disc on those few music boxes I have at my disposal. But as you can hear, to no avail. They sound very off. Their sounds were equally unsatisfactory in this one. So, I am presently engaged in acquiring an example of all the music boxes ever made in Europe.
Every single one? That's early for you. I was taking things too far.
But my dear girl, an insane riddle is quite repugnant to my constitution. But surely all the different types in Europe will amount to a huge volume of music boxes, won't it? Yes, that is certainly true. In the worst case, I shall just have to ask you to vacate the attic room.
What?
Magnus McKilloway, you're the name I expected to hear again so soon. Yes, it's only been 2 months in that grisly case. Am I finally gonna get the answer for this? Mr. McGillot perished within hours of the trial's conclusion.
Was it the curse of the Reaper? No one knows it still now. The omnibus was reduced to a pile of ash.
Not a shred of evidence remained.
And with the man's death,
the truth about the murder in which he was so intimately involved was buried. I really love Fan 16. Even though we successfully established Mr. McGilden's innocence in this trial,
the newspapers are still claiming that it remains an unsolved case.
And it kind of feels like it. The murder of the brickmaker Mr. Thrice Fair Mason. In the end, the truth of the matter remains a mystery. We still have no idea what really happened that night. I really don't like this one. And although Mr. McGilden was found not guilty through my defense, I still don't know if that was the right judgment or not. It would appear the case is not yet closed.
Well, it's time I start getting things ready for dinner, I think. Ginny will be here before long.
Thank you, Iris.
Oh well, you must let me help you then. Of course, Susie, there's plenty to do.
I think I shall investigate the condition of a faithful performing partner. Now then, where did I leave it? Let this be a lesson to you, Mr. Shaw. Never leave anything to pressure with the pawnbroker. Yes, you may be right.
Oh, that reminds me of something Mr. Winterbank said before.
He said that he had a manuscript of Iris in pawn, didn't he? Did he? Yes, he definitely mentioned it. Mr. Shaw's latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom, where his works, I believe.
So you heard about that, did you? I expect you were as incensed as I was. Oh, yes. It is such wonderful story languishing in Mr. Winterbank's storeroom gathering dust.
My dear madam, I'm quite sure I told you already. The pawnbroken storeroom is a safer place for it, here than a bank's vault.
And what about your Stradivarius, Hurley? Was that safe and secure?
Well, there may be an occasional mixer. Caused by a certain impetus someone not too far from me now.
Do you have any idea how long it took me to write that Baskerville story, Hurley?
Oh!
Oh, it sounds exciting!
Wait, when? Why did you wait! When did she mention the Hound of the Baskervilles?
It sounds exciting, the Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it.
Yes, it was not just me. Everybody noticed. What's going on here? Why does it feel like an icy chill just swept through the room?
Susie, what did you say? You said the Hound of the Baskervilles. But how could you know the full title?
Yeah.
Well, that's
because Miss Sato is such a great fan of all the stories about Mr. Sholmes, of course.
But Bruno, the Hound of the Baskervilles, it's never been published.
What?
When I showed Hurley the manuscript, he told me that I wasn't allowed to publish it yet.
I don't understand.
That's why he said he'd keep it safe. Until it was the right time for the story to be made public, you see.
So that's why the manuscript is at Winterbanks.
And yet, how could Susie here know its title? Well, Hurley, what's going on?
Oh. What is it, Mr. Sholmes? It would appear your case has arrived. Miss Lestrade! This was a bad idea. I knew I weren't welcome. I'm going. No, wait! Miss Lestrade! We've all been eagerly waiting your arrival. Haven't we, Iris?
Oh yes, just wait there, Ginny. We'll have everything ready in a jiffy. I'll come along, Susie. Right, of course.
There's gonna be some explanation here to do. I'm surprised that I actually noticed it as well.
It's a pleasure nice to see you here, Miss Lestrade. Please make yourself at home.
Don't stand in the doorway, my dear girl. Come along in. What say you to... What say you to some Mendelssohn? I want to know for an answer. Mendelssohn, is it? It isn't. What is that? Wagahai. Wagahai. Oh god, here it is. How do you even pronounce Wagahai? That evening, Aries prepared us all a meal that was even more delicious than usual. Mr. Scholl's violin performance was in Mendelssohn. And Gina, as we came to call her, taught us all how to steal things from one another without being noticed. Everyone thoroughly enjoyed themselves, well into the night. There's gonna be a however here, because that was really uncomfortable. And at night, that was a very enjoyable evening, wasn't it?
Oh yes, Harry's cooking was truly divine.
And I feel as though I can still hear the enchanting strains of Mr. Scholl's violin, even now.
First of all, I bet I could steal the glasses from his lordship's face next time we're in court. Naruhodo-san, can I consult with you about something, I wonder?
What's the matter, Susaru-san?
It's about the telegram I received.
Ah! The one that arrived first thing this morning, I suppose.
I've been summoned.
What? Summoned? What do you mean?
The telegram was from the Lord Chief Justice home. Lord Strongheart has asked me to see me.
Lord Chief Justice? When?
Tomorrow morning.
What? Then we have to start preparing at once.
Oh, no, that won't be necessary, Naruhodo-san. I've been summoned alone.
Own? What on earth for?
I have no idea. I suppose I shall find out tomorrow.
What's all this about? Whatever it is, it's making me feel very uneasy. Oh, who could that be, I wonder?
Good evening, friends!
Ah, Iris, hello again! Oh, hi Gina.
And Gina too. Yes, Gina's going to stay with us tonight. She's going to sleep in with me. Isn't that right, Jeannie?
Well, yeah.
Oh, lovely. Let me make a pot of tea. You know, I've learned so much today. Oh? What in particular? All those things Jeannie showed us. Wasn't it wonderful?
Oh, you mean all those pickpocketing techniques? Well, for trying them out in China, didn't we?
I think we have waken a natural talent. I can earn a living from it.
You might be getting ahead of yourself a little there. So what brings you up to our humble quarters at this late hour?
Well, you see, I came to return this.
Oh my god! Wait, what? That's mine!
Oh my! However did you? I told you, didn't I? I have a natural talent for it.
Oh yes, I'd forgotten. Iris literally is a child genius.
So anyway, here, you can have it back. Not that I really understand what you wear, though.
Thank you.
Alright then, good night!
Yes, good night.
So this is your office, is it? What do you think, Jeannie?
I think I will fancy me chaps with a lawyer what lives in a place like this.
Yes, me too! Oh my god, I'm pretty sure I got somebody dead!
It seems as if Iris here still has something she'd like to talk about.
I suppose she probably wants to talk about the manuscript.
Yes, I suppose she probably does. Oops. I've investigated thoroughly, but I can't find how to play it, blah blah. There's more people here, so maybe they don't connect.
Rita, what are you doing?
Look, I'm not gonna steal nothing, alright? It's all junk anyway. Charming, I suppose I should engage your guest in our conversation, really. I might have shown you this, Iris. It's just a little thing, but...
Oh, I didn't really like boring things.
Oh. It looks like Japanese modesty is easily misinterpreted by young Western children.
I mean, who does like boring things? No one wants to be shown something boring. Not think of things. You're always interested in things with, this is boring, but it's about habit. You should stop it.
I'll be sure to let the entire population of the Empire of Japan know on my return. Well, to be quite honest, I haven't told stuff by Elio and Combat and other people about this.
Iris, I suppose you're hoping to talk about the manuscript, aren't you? Aren't you going to tell me? I'm so sorry. I need a little more time, please. Alright, I understand. I hope I haven't made you feel awkward. Oh no, not at all, Iris, not at all.
I don't know what all this is about, really, but...
It's a story you made up, is it, Iris?
The mantle script or whatever you call it?
It's not exactly a story that I made up. It's something I read in Daddy's diaries.
That is?
That's right. I don't suppose I've mentioned it to you before, Ginny, but my daddy was Hurley's assistant once. He's Bernard. They solve all sorts of strange and mysterious cases together.
Is that right, mister? Apparently so. I was surprised as you are, though.
And Daddy wrote all the details of every single case down, you see, in his diaries. I studied them and write my own stories based on what actually happened.
So where's your old man now, then?
He had to go away on urgent business. The faraway land. And he'll be gone a very long time. I've never really met him.
To know the truth is very painful.
Oh, right.
Come to think of it, I don't know anything about Gina's parents either. Perhaps we should ask her? Iris, the sound of the Baskerville story. I take it it's another tale inspired by your father's account?
That's right. No, it was fascinating. But it's different somehow. From the other cases, I mean.
Oh? How?
I don't really know. But it must be special in some way. Because after I'd written it, I showed the manuscript to Hurley. It turned as white as sheet. It was the first time I've seen him like that.
It pains me to have to say this after you've told over it so long, Iris. But this story must not be published at this time, under any circumstances.
But why not? It's one of my best works!
I'm not at liberty to say it. Not now. But please do not ask me.
Alright then. I won't.
But I do solemnly swear that I will explain everything one day, Iris. When the time is right. And that's how the manuscript came to be with Mr. Windibank, isn't it?
Yes. Hurley said it had to be somewhere safe.
That really gets my goat, does it? It's treating you like a child! It's mean, that's what it does! Keeping secrets like that! I'm sure Mr. Sholmes is trying to be mean.
Huh?
If he said he wasn't at liberty to talk about it, I'm sure that must have been a very good reason.
I think so too.
You'll have to trust him for your own good. But he can pull the wool over my eyes. Sholmes is lying to Iris, I bet my life on it. What?
Charlie's lying to me?
I've realized that I don't know anything about your parents, Gina. I ain't got any, have I? Never did that.
Oh,
Look, the East End's full of orphans like me. No one wants nothing to do with us. From the minute we're born, we're not even their moms. But we all stick together. The older ones look up their little ones, make sure they get by.
but that's what your epic pocket.
Nah, that is my life. I love it. I get a kick out of it every time I lift some bumper-seated spudge. And that's how we all refer to you. I'm like Robin Hood, ain't I? That's how you see it.
Oh, Gina.
I have to think about it sometimes. What would it be like to have parents, I mean? I always thought it'd make me everything alright. But I haven't listened to what Iris just said. It sounds like having parents ain't always easy either. I mean, if you know you never had them, you don't feel like you're always wanting to meet them.
It's true. I never went to see Daddy so much. Oh, Iris.
This is so frustrating because I don't know how to bring it up. I don't think that they know how to bring it up. You know, what did you mean when you said that you know Mr. Sholmes is lying to Iris? Well, he reckons he popped up that mantle strip or whatever, right? Come on! That's obviously a lot of rubbish.
Oh my, why would you think that, Gina?
It's simple. That store was really an old Winterbank storeroom. There's no way someone from all the way around the world, in other words, you, could know about it. Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, it's sold. Without telling you.
But really would never do something like that. I'm sure of it.
Huh. Grown-ups are a lot worse than that, believe me. They're first liars, a lot of them. You just ain't realized it yet. I'm telling you, that mantle strip ain't that Winterbanks. Just don't see it after you that look. Even if you think you can trust him, I don't. That Sholmes a liar like the rest of them.
If I'm honest, I have wondered if Hurley's telling me the truth sometimes.
See?
Oh, but I don't mean that I think I sold it. I mean that sometimes I wonder if he might have hidden my manuscript somewhere. So where to know? I thought it's wrong of me to doubt him.
Don't be too hard on yourself, Iris. Oh, don't be too hard on yourself, Iris.
Oh my goodness, look at the time! Come along, Jeannie. We should go back downstairs.
Yeah, alright.
And please, don't mention any of this to Hurley, will ya?
No, of course not. Good night then, Iris. Good night, Gina.
Must let me make breakfast for you tomorrow morning, I insist.
Oh, yes, please. Can't wait, Sissy.
Good night then.
Iris. It sure is easy to forget, isn't it? Then she speaks just like an adult. But deep down, she's still just a child. She's 10. Well, that's right. She even says 10 at last this year in the case.
Well, I think it's time that I turn in for the night too, Mr. Naruhodo-san.
Dr. John H. Wilson. Matter, but also the name of the murdered visiting professor at Yume University. Can't be a mere coincidence. There's something deeper going on. Naruhodo. Voice. That's Mr. Sholmes! What's going on? It's the middle of the night. It's Mrs. Trapp. She's cool. Gina? She was supposed to be sleeping in Harry's room, but her bed is empty. Well, she's an independent young woman. She probably decided to go home, no? I think not. Friends kept picking to her before she retired. I received a distinct impression that she was looking forward to breakfast with Mr. Sato. No, I don't believe the girl has gone home, but I've been waiting for over an hour now. Over an hour? Oh, if you'll indulge me. Look out for the window. Look out of the window, my dear fellow. What's this about? Wait a minute, why is there a light on at this time of night? That's Mr. Windibank's pawnbroker. Mr. Windibank's? Oh no! Oh no. Did she went to... Should I have gone? Seems you have some knowledge of the situation, Mr. Naruto. Sorry? No, not really. Well, anyway, we must investigate. At once!
At once!
Mr. Sato! No. The door to Windibanks is open.
And the lamp is burning.
Must be Gina, mustn't it? Let us hope it's nothing more sinister. What? Come, there's not a moment to lose. Clearly something is afoot inside. There's no one here. Oh yes, there is.
Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes!
What the? Has John been shot? Leave me, Mr. Naruhodo! But after them, go! Right! Last, I've lost them!
Hello, what have we here?
Oh, hello, are we here? Let me just read from these pawnbrokers, sir. You'll know something about that. Officer, come with me! It's my friend, Mr. Sholmes! He's been shot! Shot? Bobby. An officer. With the policeman close behind me, I ran back to Windibanks.
Mr. Sholmes!
Mr. Naruhodo!
How bad is it? Never mind me, but there's much at stake. Behind that door. In the storeroom. Hurry! It's Gina!
That was a heck of a cliffhanger. Okay? That was an amazing start. Really took a while. I guess tomorrow we're going, right? Okay? After all this, I definitely cannot go that long this time without keeping up with the story. I am so excited of what's to come. For now, I'll have to keep until tomorrow, or I don't know when, but as soon as possible, because I cannot let this just hang it in the air. I know for a fact that my friends are actually busy this weekend, so maybe tomorrow as early as I rise. I really just cannot stop with this. I really want to keep going, but it's 2 a.m. in the morning. And as much as I would like to just throw caution to the wind, it's not a good thing that I get used to going to sleep that late. But, dear effing Lord, that was a fantastic cliffhanger. I'm really loving Gina. I'm really loving pretty much everything that's going on here. There's a lot of things that are finally starting to get together. I knew that normally the final case is where everything starts connecting to each other. But already in just the start, we are having questions about Matilda. We are getting the identity of John Wilson revealed to us. So it's like Waga High lives with us. I am just so excited about this. Really? You waited until the end just to tell me the game? Okay, that ends it today. I guess that for now, I'm gonna finish. Take care, everybody. This has been so fun. I'm gonna keep going with this later because, dear Lord, do I love this game. Do I love this game. I knew that you would. You're always a big fan. Thank you very much. But for now, bye.